as information that may aid in the prevention of commission of offences. These are offences arising under the Act and may secure the interest of perpetrators of that particular crime. Pursuant to provisions
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, as you may be aware, the Business Laws Amendment number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2020, was published via Kenya Gazette Supplement number 228 of December 14, 2020, to effect various amendments to 10 statutes. The bill, which is sponsored by the leader of the majority party, was read a first time on 22nd of December 2020. It was thereafter referred to various departmental committees for consideration in accordance with their respective mandates, with the lead committee being the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs, as indicated in my communication of 9th February 2021. Honourable members, I wish to notify you that I have received a request from the leader of the majority party dated 16th of March 2021, seeking my consent for the withdrawal of some proposed amendments to the following 2 statutes as contained in the bill. Number 1, the National Construction Authority Act, number 41 of 2011, and 2, the Land Registration Act, number 3 of 2012. In his request, the leader of the majority party indicates that following consultations with the executive and the urgent need to expedite consideration of the bill, he wishes to withdraw the proposed amendments relating to the aforementioned 2 statutes so as to ensure that the bill no longer concerns county governments. Indeed, honourable members, following our usual consultations, the Speaker of the Senate and on January 5th, 2021, indicated that the bill is one that concerns county governments and therefore will require to be considered by the Senate after passage by the National Assembly in terms of Article 110, Clause 4 of the Constitution. Thereafter, in another letter dated 16th of March 2021, the Speaker of the Senate did indicate that if the aforementioned provisions are withdrawn from the bill, then the bill will no longer concern county governments and therefore be considered and enacted by the National Assembly alone in terms of Article 109, Clause 3 of the Constitution. Our members, it's on that basis that I have acceded to the request by the leader of the majority party, which implies that the bill will now proceed as though the withdrawn sections were not part of it. And in this regard, the bill will now undergo second reading and other stages without making reference to the 2 withdrawn provisions. The House is accordingly guided. Thank you.
Order number 3, messages.
Honourable members, wish to report to the House that I have received a message from His Excellency the President conferring his nomination of Professor Fatuma Nyagodhie Chege for appointment as a Principal Secretary in the newly created State Department for Implementation of Curriculum Reforms under the Ministry of Education. His Excellency the President, having exercised his powers under Article 155, Clause 3, Paragraph A of the Constitution, is now seeking the approval of the National Assembly on the appointment of Professor Fatuma Chege as the Principal Secretary for the aforementioned State Department. Honourable members, standing order number 45 requires that upon receipt of notice of nomination for appointment of a person to such office, the nomination shall stand committed to the relevant departmental committee of the House for consideration. Further, Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act, as recently amended, requires the committee to consider such nomination and take a report for debate, and table a report for debate and decision of the House within 28 days. In this regard, honourable members, pursuant to the provision of the same law and paragraph 3 of the Standing Order number 42 relating to messages from the President, I hereby refer the message together with the curriculum vitae of Professor Fatuma Nyagodhie Chege to the Departmental Committee on Education and Research for the committee to undertake the necessary approval hearings. The committee should notify the nominee and the general public of the time and place for holding the approval hearings in good time, and upon conclusion of the hearings, table their report in the House by Thursday, 15th of April, 2021, to enable the House to consider the matter within the stipulated timelines. I thank you.
Order number 4, petitions.
Member for Garissa Township.
Honorable Speaker, I, the undersigned, on behalf of the residents of Garissa and Wajir counties, drew the attention of the House to the following. Number one, that after nearly 60 years of independence, many residents of Garissa and Wajir counties still do not possess identification documents. That Article 1, Subarticle 1, and Article 2, Subarticle 1 of the Constitution provides that sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya, and further stipulates that the Constitution is the supreme law that binds all persons and state organs at both levels of government. That Article 12 of the Constitution provides that every citizen is entitled to the rights, privileges, and benefits of citizenship that include a Kenyan passport and any other document of registration or identification issued by the state to its citizens. That despite clear provisions of Articles 1, Subarticle 1, of Article 2, Subarticle 1, and Article 12 of the Constitution, many Kenyans residing in Garissa and Wajir counties have been denied registration and identification documents, which have in essence rendered them stateless. That, Mr. Speaker, failure by the state to issue registration and identification documents to these specific areas of the country amounts to fundamental denial and infringement of the fundamental human rights and freedoms. In Garissa and Wajir counties are presently registered as refugees, which was the only alternative they had in securing relief food occasioned by the massive drought experienced in the 1990s. Mr. Speaker, that efforts to have the matter resolved by the Director of Registration of Persons through the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government have not borne much fruit, as exemplified by the fact that despite verification of the few thousands youth in Garissa Township, in Lagdera constituency, in Ijara constituency, in Fafi constituency, in the Dab constituency, and in Wajir South constituency, through a government task force formed in 2019, the youth have to date not been deregistered as refugees, which is a prerequisite for issuance of relevant identification and registration documents. And that the matter raised, Mr. Speaker, in this petition are not pending in any court of law in our country. Now, therefore, your humble petitioners, Mr. Speaker, pray that the National Assembly, through the relevant Committee on Administration and National Security, do the following. Number one, to investigate the matter with a view to recommending to the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, one, to deregister these youth as refugees and all the persons that were vetted and confirmed through their parents as citizens, to guarantee and be issued with the relevant identification and registration documents. Two, to all the vetted persons, and recommend that this matter is concluded in the shortest time possible. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the committee to make any other recommendation that it deems fit in the circumstance of the petition. And Mr. Speaker, your petitioners will ever, ever, and ever pray. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Sir, the petition, sorry, is it the Departmental Committee on Administration? And Ministry of National Security? Comment how? No. No. That is too long. It has taken so long that it has taken away the right. No, you know, I can see everybody raising up their finger, one finger, like, is that the Honorable Sophia Abdi? Now one finger, the other one, member for, no, member for Dadaab, yes, this is Dr. Mahmoud, yeah? And I can see the member for, but the member for Madeira knows that is not affected. Or you just want to do solidarity. Each of you 1 minute, comment. Honorable Sophia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me to contribute to this very important matter that concerns our youth. Mr. Speaker, this is a very passionate issue to the people of northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker, particularly the youth. Mr. Speaker, as Dwala has narrated in the petition, and the ID card issue has been an issue throughout this country. And, Mr. Speaker, this issue of national identity card, and particularly those who have been in the refugee camp, has been an issue, and the ministry, the government, and the United Nations has heavily, Mr. Speaker, invested on this matter. And some of us have been going around the offices because there are many youth who have been captured in the database of United Nations refugees. Those youth, Mr. Speaker, some of them were born about 5 years after the refugee camp. Some of them are 25 years old. They have finished secondary schools. They do not have any documentation. Mr. Speaker, they are denied the right of services. They are denied their security. They do not have any security, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, freedom of movement is a nightmare for the youth in the region, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it has become a major problem, Mr. Speaker, in terms of this youth getting services, be it educational services, Mr. Speaker. This youth, you know, we have a major security threat in the country. And when these youth do not have any identification, Mr. Speaker, they are very vulnerable for the security to harass them, to take them to Mr. Speaker. And that has been happening to the youth in Garissa County and in Wajir. Mr. Speaker, if I come down home in my Ijara constituency have been heavily affected, Mr. Speaker, in terms of youth who have joined the refugee camps, their parents, because of basic need, which Kenya...
Member for Dadaab. What is that? Give it a member for Dadaab. Why not giving? Do you have a card? Can you press on the intervention button? Or that does not operate in Dadaab? In the meantime, as you search, let's give the member for Eldas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is a responsible member of the international community. And Mr. Speaker, as a result of an informed decision by the government of Kenya in 1991, we accepted to host many refugees from Somalia and gave them a big chunk of northern Kenya, Mr. Speaker. But there is one thing that we did not look into, Mr. Speaker. The risk that decision actually posed to the local community, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, an ID is a basic constitutional right. Now, there are three things. We have the refugee camps, we have the host community, we have Kenyans who are entitled to an ID, Mr. Speaker, and then we have the Kenya government, and we have the expectation by the international community from the Kenya government. Mr. Speaker, all these have jeopardized the rights of innocent Kenyans who have been affected by famine over the years. What happens is, like right now, there is serious famine and drought. If there is food in the refugee camps, people will naturally go there, register, survive. What happens? Their data are captured. But one thing the Kenya government has not done, Mr. Speaker, and over the years we have been taken round, is if there are innocent Kenyans who have proved beyond reasonable doubt that they are Kenyans and they have used the drought case to get food, Mr. Speaker, why will they be punished? Why will the government not use its intelligence facility, Mr. Speaker, to verify, and if there are Kenyans who are affected by the drought, sort them out, give their documents, and if they are refugees, take them to where they belong, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the result of this, that right now we are being punished collectively. It is the high time the government walks the talk and allows those innocent Kenyans
Member for Dadaab.
to get their IDs, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Member for Dadaab.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, I thank you for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this petition. I represent the Dadaab constituency, which actually hosts over 200,000 refugees. Honorable Speaker, the issue of double registration, maybe many Kenyans will not understand. But let me say this. When refugees are in those camps, they have shared with us our local resources. Equally, we have shared with the refugees the resources which they are getting from the international community, including food and shelter. Consequently, those Kenyans who registered themselves as refugees in order to seek for food and shelter have now been caught in what's called double registration. And these Kenyans cannot get access to ID cards. Consequently, they have become stateless. This matter has been raised at the highest level of government, and a task force was appointed and a process to
Member for Endabes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to support the petition by Honorable Duale, member for Garissa Township. For us who live in the border counties, my constituency borders Uganda, we face almost similar conditions, but theirs is worse because you have people who are registered as refugees and not getting IDs. I think this is a very inhuman, and I think it's something that needs to be addressed urgently and should be sorted. Honorable Speaker, border constituencies people should have access to these IDs because it's a very critical instrument for them to access services. So I support that petition.
Member for Mandera North.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support this petition by Honorable Duale. One thing I want to congratulate him is that This matter has now found itself in the floor of the House, and I want to call upon the House to rise to the occasion. Honorable Speaker, the issue of double registration has been mentioned is mainly because of economic gain. It's not something of their own making. And a task force has been presented before, and the report was tabled to the government. Unfortunately, that has not been resolved. And this matter of ID card issues has been a thorn in the flesh for the greater northern Kenya. And the youths don't have these ID cards. One, some of them are becoming youth, and they can't get jobs. They can't have any identification. And so I want to encourage the committee to really look into this matter and come up with solid recommendations. Task force has been done, nothing has been implemented. So let's encourage the House committee to ensure that the youths across northern Kenya.
Honorable Sankok.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, and I stand to support this petition by His Excellency Adan Duale. And it's very important, Honorable Speaker, because, Honorable Speaker, people cannot be denied services, yet they have been vetted and they have been proved that they are Kenyan citizens, Honorable Speaker. Any child born within the Kenyan soil is actually a Kenyan citizen. So, Honorable Speaker, I don't even see the reason why it should go to the Committee of Administration instead of you being the most powerful person in Kenya, the third in command. Just give directive that this, as far as they have been proven that they are Kenyan citizens, they should be given IDs and Huduma number, Honorable Speaker. You are third in command. Give those directives. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kubai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to comment on this, on the petition by Honorable Duale. Mr. Speaker, I support the petition, Mr. Speaker, and more so, I would say that this problem of issuance of ID cards is a thorn in the flesh across the board. Mr. Speaker, not even in the marginal areas or those counties or constituencies which border our other countries, but even internally, Mr. Speaker, even in Imeru, you find that those offices, they have nobody to supervise them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, Mr. Speaker, you find that an office has got only one staff or two staff, and every other day we have youths who turn up there to get ID cards and they never get them. This, the registration of persons, Mr. Speaker, should be overhauled holistically and put correct measures so that once a teen gets into the age of majority to get.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to support Honorable Ndwale. Sometimes back, Mr. Speaker, when I was still teaching at the University of Nairobi, I was a lead consultant in the development of refugee policy in this country. And when we went to the DAB, Mr. Speaker, it is true, the locals voluntarily go and register as refugees so that they can be able to get the benefits from those refugee camps. So in that context, Mr. Speaker, they cannot be given an ID. And to me, I think it's a long overdue matter if a committee has been put in place and they can be able to do some renunciation so that they can be able to access an ID for purposes of looking for jobs, Mr. Speaker, and for purposes of investment. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the petition.
Member from where?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also stand to support this petition by Honorable Duare. And even as I do so, I want to take note that our committee, Honorable Speaker, did make a visit to the DAB, and we heard from the community the challenges that they are going through. And Mr. Speaker, it's true that there is a lot of challenge. We have a lot of challenges there, especially on the double registration. Youth that were looking for opportunities, registered as refugees, now they want to get back their national ID cards. Mr. Speaker, as we support this petition, we want to take note that this is a challenging area, and it's only fair that the committee be given enough time to look at the petition to come up with a recommendation that will also balance out
Member for Dagoretti South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to congratulate the former leader of majority because this is a matter that needed to find its way to the floor of this House. The issue of double registration and problem of registration of people who are actually Kenyans
is not limited to Northern Kenya only. Mr. Speaker, in the Dagoretti South constituency, we are hosting people who are formerly from Congo, from Rwanda, some who are born here and cannot access services of their government because they are not registered, Mr. Speaker. This problem is so compounded in terms of registration of persons that even as we even debate about going into a referendum, Mr. Speaker, we know that there are some young people who are not registered as voters who shall be disenfranchised when they have to make a decision either way on this matter that is coming up, whether we shall go on a referendum or not. If they have to make a vote and they have not been registered as voters, Mr. Speaker, they shall be very disenfranchised.
Member for Madera West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I stand to support this petition. Actually, what I want to add is that 2 committees, joint committees of this House were sent about 2 years back to the Dadaab, and they interviewed all those people who were double registered, they interviewed others, the leaders, and the committees came up with a report and recommendation for that matter. Unfortunately, I have not seen any implementation of that recommendation. If that recommendation could have been implemented, today the former leader could not have brought this. And therefore, I think what is very important is to make sure that whatever we do as a committee is not done in vain. It should be, the recommendation should be implemented to the latter so that we can deal with that issue once and for all and move.
Member for Kinango.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Nataka nichukue nafasi hii kumuunga mkono Mheshimiwa Duale kwa kuleta mswada huu katika bunge, kwa sababu hili swala liko kila mahali. Katika eneo bunge langu niko na jamii kubwa sana ya Somali, na pia wao wameteseka miaka mingi sana bila vitambulisho. Na pia kwa upande mwingine tumepakana na mpaka wa Tanzania, tuko na Wamasai wengi pia wamefikisha umri wa miaka 25 na pia bado hawajapata vitambulisho. Kwa hivyo naunga mkono Mheshimiwa Duale, hii mswada utiliwe maanani na ufanyiwe haraka kwa sababu vijana wengi wanateseka sana. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Member for Ndaragwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to support the petition by Mheshimiwa Duale. And in addition, I also ask that the committee pays a visit to the dump sites, the slum areas of this country. We have Kenyans there who are not known even by name. And I think it is useful for us to extend them the same service. I thank you.
Member for Bomachoge Borabu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also want to support this petition. And Mr. Speaker said that the issue of challenges with the issuance of ID cards is not new. So, Speaker, I would just appeal that as we reflect, the committee reflects on this matter, we make right bus stops for the provision of IDs. Students in secondary schools really should be provided IDs before they leave schools. So, Speaker, I want to say that looking at my constituency, we have a backlog of many youths who have no IDs. We have IDs in the offices that have never been distributed. We have no facilities that, that need to move these people around to take IDs. So it's a big issue that needs a clear pathway should be decided, and then this matter can be settled. I support the petition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also rise to support the petition by Honorable Duale. I come from a border constituency with Uganda, and our case is more or less the same and unique. Unique in the essence, Honorable Speaker, that we intermarry so much with the ladies from Uganda. You find a lady has stayed in Kenya for 50 years, but is not allowed to be given an ID for obvious facts that it didn't follow through the normal migration. I think we need to extend that petition to cover those kind of issues. For that matter, I support Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Sossion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the petition by Honorable Duale and wish to bring to the attention of this House that the youth in northern Kenya have been balkanized in different ways and denied their rights. It's also incumbent to note that even refugees all over the world have rights, and therefore there is need to expedite and ensure the registration of the youth in northern Kenya. Further, Honorable Speaker, registration of persons ought to be automated and even linked to the birth certificates so that this issue does not become a challenge as the young Kenyans grow. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Kisauni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. First and foremost, I wish to congratulate the former Leader of Majority, Honorable Duale, for bringing this petition. Mr. Speaker, as you are very much aware, Mombasa is dominated by a big business community that is from the Somali community. But majority of the youth from that community up to today, they are still suffering in acquiring the identity cards that can enable them acquire the necessary services in this country. So, Mr. Speaker, this petition should be opened up, should not only be limited to Northeastern, but should be opened up so that whatever recommendation that may be put forward by the committee, they should be able to be applied to the other areas like Mombasa. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Barire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise also to support this petition by the former majority leader and say that it is timely because citizenship is a human right, Mr. Speaker, and therefore it beholds this government to ensure that every Kenyan citizen is registered as per the law. And therefore, I wish to support that, but also say that there is need going forward to ensure that we devolve the units that do register Kenyans as citizens, because right now we have very many young people in the villages who are not yet registered with the national identification, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kajiado South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I support the petition. And these issues are actually the same along the border districts or counties. Like in my constituency, where I border Tanzania, you find the intermarriages have occurred across the border from Tanzania and Kenyans. And then you will find the father and the children, they have national IDs, but the mother, who is as old as 60 years, do not have those IDs, Mr. Speaker. And I think you become a citizen through marriage. So once you are married by a Kenyan, you should be given a national ID because you are a Kenyan, Mr. Speaker. So the committee that will look into this petition need to look across those issues of intermarriages between citizens of different countries. Furthermore, we are all now people from the East African region where we are not even, we do not even require visas to cross over, Mr. Speaker. I support it.
No. Well, let everybody comment what they want to comment. In any event, the petition is going to be referred to the committee. So these statements are just comments. Member for Kwanza.
Mr. Speaker, I also want to take this opportunity and to say I think the department register of persons will be actually be directed by this House to start now registering the youth. The youth all over the country. I come from Trans Nzoia, and we have very many youths, Mr. Speaker, who actually are lacking opportunities because they don't have IDs. And therefore, I think I want to take this opportunity to thank Honorable Duale for bringing up this. It's affecting everybody, and you can see from the contribution of this House, Mr. Speaker, everybody is affected. And therefore, the Department of the Register of Persons should get out of the comfort zones and be able to register the youth for their own benefit. I support the petition. Thank you.
Very well. The petition is referred to the committee as earlier on directed. Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader of Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 23rd of March, 2021 in the afternoon sitting. Number 1, the legal notice number 15 of 2021 relating to the exemption from income tax for Japanese companies, consultants, and Japanese personnel and the explanatory memorandum from the National Treasury. Number 2, legal notice number 27 of 2021 relating to the Public Finance Management National Drought Emergency Fund regulations of 2020 and the explanatory memorandum from the National Treasury. Number 3, the legal notice number 16 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry registrations, licensing, sales, and levy regulations of 2021 and the explanatory memorandum from the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Number 4, the legal notice number 17 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry returns, reports, and estimates, regulations of 2021, and the explanatory memorandum from the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Number 5, the legal notice number 18 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry compliance officers, regulations 2021, and the explanatory memorandum from the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Number 6, the legal notice number 19 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry, produce traceability and recall, regulations of 2021, and the explanatory memorandum from the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Number 7, the legal notice number 20 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry milk sales contract regulations 2021 and the explanatory memorandum from the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Number 8, legal notice number 21 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry imports and exports regulations of 2021 and the explanatory memorandum from the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Number 9, legal notice number 22 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry, dairy produce safety regulations of 2021, and the explanatory memorandum from Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. And number 10, legal notice number 23 of 2021 relating to the dairy industry, pricing of dairy produce, regulations of 2021, and the explanatory memorandum from the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. Number 11, the National Government Budget Implementation Review Report for the first half of the year, or the financial year 2020-21, from the Office of the Control Budget. Number 12, the County Government Budget Implementation Review Report for the first half of the financial year 2020-2021, from the Office of the Control Budget. Number 13, the Annual Report and Financial Statement of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission for the financial year 2018-2019. And lastly, number 14, reports of the Auditor General and Financial Statement in respect to the following institutions for the year ended, that is June 2019, and the certificates therein. Number A, the University of Nairobi Press, and B, the State Department for University Education. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next, but just to appreciate that the regulations, the paper items A to J will be referred automatically to the Committee on Delegated Legislation to deal with. The chairperson, Departmental Committee on, no, let's get the report by the Chairman, Public Accounts Committee, the Honorable Opio Wandai.
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House. Today, Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Report on the examination of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the national government for the financial year 2017-2018, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Thank you.
Very well. But I wanted to appreciate that that is the report, and members, because there are some who have not seen this kind of reports in the past. That's for the financial year 2017-2018. The Honorable P&I Committee is still has to still deal with the 2018-2019, 2019-2020, 2020-2021. The Chairman, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021, afternoon session. That is the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Business Laws Amendment Number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill Number 50 of 2020, incorporating reports from the following committees. 1, Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. 2, Departmental Committee on Health. 3, Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. 4, Departmental Committee on Lands. And finally, 5, Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works, and Housing. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Bondai?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion. That this House adopts the report of the Public Accounts Committee on the examination of the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the national government for the financial year 2017-2018, Volume 1 and 2, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. Thank you.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
We start with the first segment, the questions. First question by the member for Kiambu, the Honorable Jude Jomo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to ask question number 062 of 2021. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide the status of ownership of land reference number 6944/2 in Kenyatta Road, Kiambu County, and in particular the section of land which was to be allocated to occupants of Olive Gated Estate in November 2018. What steps has the ministry taken to ensure that the said land is subdivided and marked with beacons by Messrs. Banda Homes Company as agreed during purchase of land for development by the buyers? When will the ministry issue the title deeds to the purchasers? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Lands. Next question by the member for Teso North, Honorable Kaunya. Yeah, he indicated that he had requested the Honorable John Olago Luoch to ask a question on his behalf. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have instructions from the member for Teso North, Honorable Oku Kaunya, to ask this question on his behalf. Mr. Speaker, this question was raised in the last session. It lapsed and he has revived it. Question number 078 of 2021, direct to the Ministry, Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure, Housing, Urban Development, and Public Works. 1, what plans does the ministry have to introduce parking lanes on Road A104, known as the Northern Corridor Road at Malaba area, which connects Kenya to Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, and Eastern DRC, in view of the challenges currently experienced by motorists who use that road? And number 2, when will the construction of these parking lanes commence? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works, and Housing. Next question by the member for Ikolomani, the Honorable Bernard Masaka Shinali. press the intervention button. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise to ask question 080 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Mining and Petroleum. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide details of how much money has been collected since the inception of the Petroleum Development Levy to date, considering that the charges were increased to shillings 5.4 per litre, up from shillings 0.4 in July 2020. Number 2, how is the Petroleum Development Levy Fund administered in terms of collections and expenditure? 3, could the Cabinet Secretary give details of how the money collected through the fund will be utilized to stabilize fuel prices and explain what is the role of the National Oil Corporation of Kenya in stabilizing fuel prices? Number 4, could the Cabinet Secretary confirm whether the Petroleum Development Levy and Petroleum Development Fund complies with the requirements of Article 201 of the Constitution and Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Number 5, what measures has the government put in place to ensure that Kenyans enjoy predictable and affordable fuel prices now that the hedging fund is in place? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Energy. Next question by the member for Magarini, Honorable Kingi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question 082 of 2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for Lands and Physical Planning. 1. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the plans in place to ensure that could the Cabinet Secretary explain the plans in place to ensure that the residents of Magarini Sub-County do not lose their land to the settlement fund trustees due to the current outstanding land-related fees, considering that land is their only source of livelihood? 2. What measures are the ministry putting in place to waive the accumulated debt and relieve the burden owed to the settlement fund trustees in the former Magarini settlement scheme? Thank you.
Question will be responded to before the Committee on Lands. Last question by the member for Kwale County, Honorable Suleika Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This question was asked last year and it lapsed as well. I stand to ask question 097/2021 to the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Planning. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the 34 retired civil servants from Coast Region with the following personal numbers have not been paid their pension dues to date? Personal number 021429 and 029116 and 030373 and 034166 and 034383 and 031139 and 034084 who retired in the year 2014. Numbers 1977054282, number 030474, number 034514, number 019420, and 061982, who retired in the year 2015, number 034386, number 059038, number 057976, number 030366, and 034604, who retired in the year 2016, number 034167, number 034068, and number 019400, who retired in the year 2017, number 53274, number 058219, number 034295, number 034631, and number 198206890, who retired in the year 2018, and number 050566, number 034185, number 037177, number 030474, number 034320, number 034163, number 034268, number 050507, and number 034554, who retired in the year 2019. 2, what measures is the ministry putting in place to ensure that the listed beneficiaries receive their pension dues without further delay?
Question will be replied to before the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Next segment, statements. A statement by the Honorable Muturi Kigano, Chair of Justice and Legal Affairs Committee.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, this House is aware that the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and the Senate counterpart, the Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, are jointly considering the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. At a meeting held on 19th March 2021, the committee deliberated on various issues arising from the views received from the public and various stakeholders by way of oral submissions and by way of written memoranda. In total, sir, there were 65 number persons and or groups. In so doing, the committee identified a number of weighty constitutional, legal, and procedural issues for consideration by the committee, which were clustered under the following 6 thematic areas. 1, nature of the bill, public participation and its extent, the way of processing the bill, substantive issues on the bill, referendum issues, status of litigation in courts touching on the bill. The committee further observes that this was the first time that the House is considering a proposal to amend the Constitution by way of popular initiative under Article 257 of the Constitution. And thus, it was therefore expected that various constitutional, legal, and procedural issues would arise and have arisen. Further, the committees noted that it was imperative that the emerging issues are carefully considered by the committee, as they would not only guide the ongoing process, but also future processes and posterity on such amendments. The committee has thus resolved that there was need to engage experts in constitutional, legal, procedural, and governance matters to advise on the issues arising in the thematic areas as identified. In this regard, the Joint Committee observed that under Standing Orders 203 and 217 of the National Assembly and Senate, respectively, committees may, with the approval of the respective speaker, engage such experts as may consider necessary in furtherance of its mandate. The committee therefore resolved that a subcommittee of the joint committee be established comprising of the following members: Your Turure, Muturi Kigano, as chairperson, Honorable Tiedo Amolo, member, Honorable Jennifer Shamara, member, Honorable Senator Eric Omugeni, chairperson of the other committee in the Senate, Senator Naomi Jirowako, and Senator James Orengo. The subcommittee identifies that the subcommittee identifies experts who are well-versed in the process with wide experience in constitutional, governance, legal, and procedural matters to be procured to provide consultancy services on the matters, therefore, the matters before the committee. That the subcommittee develop the terms of reference that shall guide the operations of the experts in this exercise. The subcommittee at a meeting held on yesterday, Monday, 22nd March, considered the matter of the identification and engagement of the experts. The subcommittee urged the Secretariat to ensure that, owing to the urgency of the matter, and noting that the matter is one of national and public interest, the engagement of the experts be undertaken without delay, so that the experts may commence work. The proposed terms of reference for these experts are: 1, to conduct extensive research on the thematic areas identified by the committees and the issues arising thereunder, or on such other issues as may be identified by the committee. 2, to analyze the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 and advise the committee on the provisions of the bill, salient features on the provisions of the bill, to review the submissions received from the public and stakeholders on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. 4, to regularly advise the committee on the various thematic areas and the issues arising thereunder. 5, to attend such meetings of the committee as shall be appointed for the consideration of the thematic areas and the issues arising thereunder. 6, to provide such other services as may be necessary on the thematic areas and the issues arising thereunder, or on such other issues as may be identified by the committee. 7, to provide such other advice on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 as may be required by the committee. 8, to help prepare a final report for approval by the committee on the various thematic areas and the issues arising thereunder. We are therefore, sir, asking for more time to comprehensively consider the bill and table the report soon thereafter. And the grounds, if I may repeat, for seeking this approval, in short, brief, are: we have held public participation and received views and memoranda from 65 individuals, groups, and institutions, including the promoters. 2, public participation took 3 full days and extended to the night. The Joint Committee held a retreat last Thursday to Sunday inclusive. The committee has therefore sought Speaker's approval to engage servants under Standing Order 203. the committee is conducting very divergent views to make the bill coherent, fully constitutional in all respects. Thank you, sir.
I'm surprised that this committee now is looking for experts. Remember that there was a directive that they were to table their report today. And now, what we can do is, as a house, we can allow some comments here and there, but certainly on our members, you know, we can't be, you know. Well, they are at liberty to engage those experts, but I thought one of the members there whose name has been read out, the vice chair of the committee, was himself an expert of the committee of experts. Now he wants to be advised by some other new experts. Honorable Junet, yeah, I know your signature appears in that bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for indulging me. Mr. Speaker, I have listened very keenly to the chairman of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. And Mr. Speaker, it occurred to me sometimes that maybe we are talking about different bills. I think the committee is coming up with another bill that they want to change the constitution, Mr. Speaker. I did not attend because I am a promoter of the bill. I was giving you people time to give the bill justice, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this committee is claiming now that they have formed a subcommittee to go and look for experts, Mr. Speaker, and they are forgetting that, Mr. Speaker, this is a bill through a popular initiative. The promoters, Mr. Speaker, which I include, Mr. Speaker, had engaged experts, Mr. Speaker, at length for 2 years. They have been talking to experts, Mr. Speaker, and your directive was very clear, Mr. Speaker, that they should table the report on 23rd of March 2021. Mr. Speaker, I think this House must remind the committee their mandate, Mr. Speaker. I think there is some confusion, Mr. Speaker. I think the committee maybe misunderstood the kind of work they were supposed to do on that bill, Mr. Speaker. When you hear committee now saying that they are looking for committee of experts, Mr. Speaker, they are looking for consultants, Mr. Speaker, to advise them on the constitutionality and the legality of the bill, Mr. Speaker, then, Mr. Speaker, we are discussing we have taken a very dangerous path, Mr. Speaker, pertaining to this bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the House must get back its bill, Mr. Speaker, because I'm seeing the House losing its bill now to a committee. First, the mistake maybe we committed was to have a joint committee of Senate and National Assembly, Mr. Speaker. You know, the Senate normally deals with the peripheral issues in the law of burial of permits, you know, chicken dying in the house, such kind of things, Mr. Speaker. This, I think the people who have given enough justice to this bill, Mr. Speaker, is the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of this House, Mr. Speaker. And there is a reason why I'm saying that. Mr. Speaker, it is my honest request to you as a promoter and as a member of this House, Mr. Speaker, that you must give firm instructions, Mr. Speaker, that equivalent to the one you gave earlier, that this bill must be presented. Article 257, Mr. Speaker, is very clear. They are supposed to do things, they are supposed to handle this matter expeditious, Mr. Speaker. And the House is supposed to vote on it and pass it on a majority vote, Mr. Speaker, not even 2/3, Mr. Speaker. No, Dr. behave, Bana. I am not a goat that you treat as a veterinary doctor. Give me time to speak, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the chairman, the report the chairman has presented here, Mr. Speaker, is fake, is vague, Mr. Speaker, and this is not a report that this House can use, Mr. Speaker, to determine the future of this report, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, this committee now, in fact, it is almost getting to a position where we may request the committee to be dissolved, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if a committee now can get out of its mandate to go and look for other lawyers And some of them are lawyers in that committee, Mr. Speaker, and they are saying, we want to seek the opinion of other lawyers in town, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, please save the situation. Bring back the bill to the House, Mr. Speaker. The bill belongs to the House and not the committee, Mr. Speaker. As it was, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Duale.
Mr. Speaker, before I comment on this House should be aware that Honorable Junet, sometimes he speaks in tongues. He speaks in tongues. So you don't take Honorable Junet's statement lightly. He might be telling you to go to the south when he's heading to the north. But Mr. Speaker, I remember we altered the calendar of this House. We altered, and we went on a recess early. And the leader of majority, my good friend, told us that on 23rd, the joint committee will table. Mr. Speaker, we don't want to be subjected to the rumors in the newspapers. This is a legislative matter. And as the chair, and Mr. Speaker, I want the chair to listen to me. No, he's consulting the minority. He needs to listen to me. Chair, the chair, this matter, the media is reporting a lot of issues. And so many things have changed. You know, I'm sitting next to Honorable Member for Fafi. His party leader is becoming a serious candidate. So a lot of things are changing. Gideon Moi, his party leader. So, Mr. Speaker, I want the chairman to tell us two things. He is entitled to an extension of time, but he should be candid to the House. Why do they want an extension? Is there a problem in the committee? What are the reasons? Because, Mr. Speaker, we are reading a lot. We are reading a lot. So, Mr. Speaker, there are serious underlying issues. You know, and some of us are preparing for the committee. In fact, I have started preparing, from what I'm hearing, whether their actions can lead to something, because myself, Honorable Bandi, and a number of other people participated in the 2010 constitutional making. We sat in late in the hours until midnight. So the chair can tell us, one, how much time, Mr. Speaker, he needs, because we can't alter the calendar of the House on record, and today you are telling us, you know, you have talked a lot, but there's nothing I have picked. What are the reasons? Well, yeah, we didn't pick it. What are the reasons why you want the extension? And how long do you want the extension? Because this document is a popular initiative. It belongs to the people of Kenya. It doesn't belong to a committee of the House. Even if Honorable Junet said it belongs to ODM, somebody else in the government was saying it belongs to him, but this is a popular initiative. It belongs to the people of Kenya. So, Chairman, tell us the reasons why you want extension, and please tell us what is going on behind in the boardroom.
Honorable John Bandi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for allowing me also to give my comments on this matter. Mr. Speaker, I'm actually shocked that the committee, the joint committee, which we gave, Mr. Speaker, this loud consultation.
Member for Dagoretti South. Could you
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to make my contribution or be heard on this matter. Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that the chair of the Jailer Committee is requesting for extra time to deal with this matter, and even asking that they would invite other experts to give input to this matter. Mr. Speaker, I think then, and with all due respect to this committee, because it is a committee that is populated with lawyers in this House, Mr. Speaker, and these are not just lawyers, really renowned lawyers in this country, and lawyers who, when you hear their names, Mr. Speaker, you cannot have doubt that they understand what they are doing. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that they can put such a request to this House. when they know very well the provisions of the Constitution. Article 257, Mr. Speaker, of the Constitution was put there to stop anybody who would want to derail any Kenyan or a group of Kenyans who want to amend the Constitution. And so, Mr. Speaker, we all know that the role of Parliament in general and the committees in particular is basically ceremonial. And, Mr. Speaker, we need to appreciate that what the committee should have done was to just compile a report to this House for future references. There is no way that this House is even going to change a comma, not even a comma, in the proposed bill. Because how then do you change what Kenyans appended their signatures on? Kenyans decided that they wanted this constitution be amended in a particular way. If you want, Mr. Speaker, to amend this constitution through parliamentary initiative, you do it, because that is also provided for in law. So what I think the committee should do is to avoid this filibustering and this idea of derailing and delaying the process, and bring a report to us. We want to deal with this proposed constitutional amendment bill and give it back to the people of Kenya to make a decision. We have no capacity as a House to even amend it, not even a comma. So why should the committee? It comes because the Constitution says, and Mr. Speaker, you know this Sankok is developing a very bad habit, Mr. Speaker. He shouts even at his seniors, Mr. Speaker, in this House. People should be listening to learn from, Mr. Speaker. And people who have been elected many times, Mr. Speaker, like myself. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to request Sankok. I know he has only been elected once and we had to massage some votes for him. No, he was elected as a SONU chairman, but we know what we did for him to become the chairman of SONU. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to just put it that this request from the committee is strange, and this committee should not put this country to unnecessary panic and discussion. The discussion out there today in the media is whether there is disagreement between Jubilee and ODM, between handshake partners, yet it is these members who have issues which they should sort out themselves. So, Mr. Speaker, that request of extension of time is completely unnecessary. Chairman, please go back to your committee. Give us a report quickly. Kenyans have made submission. Put those submissions together. In fact, when we were forming this committee, we were even debating in the House Business Committee whether it was necessary really to refer this matter to the committee. But we said this is going to provide an opportunity for Kenyans to also converse some issues which may inform future constitutional amendment. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case.
Let me hear from the member for, well, the Deputy Whip. Let's hear the Deputy Whip.
No, Mr. Speaker, I want to apologize. My card is being rebooted by your staff. That's why I was shouting around, and I apologize for that. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with the sentiments raised by the three predecessors in the comments, Honorable Duale, Mbadi, and Junet, that we are worried as a House that the mandate we gave to the joint, actually a high-powered joint committee of both the Senate and the House did not understand the terms of reference. And Mr. Speaker, the terms of reference were that today they would table a report. And they have no business coming to amend or intercept the terms of reference and propose something called fresh terms of reference where they are giving themselves sweeping powers, which they don't have. Now, Mr. Speaker, as per the Article 257, where you are going direct to the people, the House is doing a ceremonial role. Now, you cannot expand that mandate into the things the chairman was winding around,
that they have there were referendum issues, there were litigation, public participation, constitution and legal and governance issues, and he said actually extensive. Now, Mr. Speaker, since he doesn't have the opportunity of amending what he was requesting, he actually did not request for any time frame. He just came and asked for extension or an indefinite period of which the House may not be willing to open that kind of gate because you don't know when it will be closed. And Mr. Speaker, I want to make them refer to the book of Genesis about that project called the Tower of Babel. When they met, the team of lawyers and the politicians and the innuendos inherent in between, they did not know their mandate. And it is for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I wish to plead with you to intercept this report from this committee and make sure that you have maximum of next week when they should table the report or they get out of it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kisumu West.
Mr. Speaker, I have the privilege of serving in JLAC as a ranking member, and I don't want to appear before you as insubordinating my chairman. But I have this to say. Mr. Speaker, I have this to say. The message delivered by my chairman was a good message, but it is poorly delivered. Mr. Chairman, I've been participating in this process throughout. And the message that I want to bring to the House today was, the matter before us is so historic, it will be subject to some litigation. And all we wanted was at least 2 weeks to prepare a proper report for tabling. Mr. Speaker, this idea of getting experts is something that's caught me by surprise before the House. I counted the number of lawyers in the Senate, in the National Assembly, in these two committees. Cumulatively, the lawyers in these two committees have got 250 years of practice. Cumulative, 250 years. Which other lawyer in Kenya do we need more than 250 years to do this for us? Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, but I don't want to insulate my chairman. With all respect and humility. We don't want experts. We don't want more than 2 weeks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, I'm asking with humility to kindly give us 2 weeks and forget about the experts. We are the experts. Thank you.
Now, so now who is that? Honorable Sankok, you also want to weigh into this one?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, though I was extensively mentioned by Honorable Junet in Badi, insinuating that probably I was fraudulently elected as the SONU chairman, I want to put it on record that I was elected with the highest ever votes in SONU. He was an expert in finance, not in election matters. Honorable Speaker, we need an extension. And in fact, the extension is not even 2 weeks. We need an extension of 6 months, Honorable Speaker, because it's a very weighty issue, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I know they have had 65 sittings, Honorable Speaker. Okay, 1 year. Okay. Honorable Speaker. Okay, 1 year. No, Honorable Speaker, they had 65 meetings, Honorable Speaker. They had met 65 groups and several groups, including a group of persons with disability, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in the midst of this pandemic, Honorable Speaker, sometimes their meetings have not been up to standard because of social distancing, Honorable Speaker. There are people who have not yet appeared. Honorable Speaker, and if Honorable Junet give us an excuse that we are not supposed to amend even a comma, Honorable Speaker, it is the Constitution that dictates that it should come to this House, and we should debate it in this House, and we should debate in an informed position, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, so I totally support the committee, because we gave them that mandate, And if we gave them that mandate, it is not up to us to make the decision. They have asked the Speaker. They have not asked Junet or Mbadi. So the Speaker, it is you to make the decision. And I urge you to make the decision to give us the extension, even if it is for 6 months, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rest my case.
Honorable Kajuang.
Mr. Speaker, when you hear a nominated member speak the way he is, you want to see whether he's speaking things which, when you look at 10 years from now, you would want to feel the weight of them. But you see, he's saying that you are the one who will decide. You should know that you don't have a vote in this matter. It is we members of this House who will make a decision. That is number one. Number two, Mr. Speaker, this committee, of course, my senior, Honorable Olago, has now put us back to the rail. I was getting very worried when I heard all these things being mentioned. I was about to think that this committee changed their position and then they were now promoters of this bill. But listening from Honorable Olago, now I see where we are. I think they deserve some time. I think they deserve 2 weeks that Honorable Olago is asking. But I get worried sometimes when I hear members speak things as though they are not members of this House. When you come and say that we are ceremonial, this English of ceremonial, I've heard people saying that we are just ceremonial, we are just coming here to see as things go. And the same Constitution talks about Article 94. The same Constitution talks about Article 95. The same Constitution talks about 96. Then you come and tell us that we are ceremonial. Ceremonial in whose ceremony? Yeah. When you are talking about those things out there, we didn't even know what you are talking about. We waited for you to bring this thing before us. Once now you have brought it before us and it is a bill, we will deal with it as National Assembly. We have a voice to deal with this thing. And how we deal with this thing is what we have charged the committee to let us know. So you can't come and talk about this ceremonial. You can't speak politics when we are speaking parliamentary language here. Now, Mr. Speaker, I think that, well, if you feel that you are ceremonial, then you leave your duty under 95 and 94, and then you go and do those ceremonial things out there. But here we are serious members of the National Assembly. We have come to prosecute issues here. So, you see, there are a lot of issues that we are dealing with. There is this animal called public participation. We have never understood what this animal is all about. And we are trying to tame it so that we can use it within our understanding and get it done. Now, they have done a good job with doing public participation. Now, there are other issues also we have seen that we have to get seized of and see how then when we release this bill to the people to make a decision on a referendum, it becomes something which they can interact with. So the only issue that got me startled is this thing that we are ceremonial. I am not in anybody's ceremony. Yeah, so Mr. Speaker, I think we should give them time, but I think we should have a report that we can deal with and see how we can properly interact with this thing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now, the chairman wants to respond so that we... So, but 2 minutes each. Start with the member for Saku.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I thank the chairman for asking for more time. This is about the law of this country into the future. It is not just about the BBI. So we must look at time and with posterity. Mr. Speaker, the second issue is for the first time we are casting aspersion on a committee of this House. How many laws have JLAC brought to the floor of this House and we agreed with them? Only for us to turn around this time, just because of the BBI, to say that it is not good or they should be disbanded. Honorable Speaker, this House, it is the one that makes the law for this land. It is not just a gallery or a gathering. If anything will not be approved by this House, I don't know how it is going to be implemented out there on the street. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, you use your wisdom to give that committee more time so that what comes before us is concrete. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Amalwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, this House is the only House which has the legislative authority. Mr. Speaker, the framework of this bill is clearly outlined under Article 257. Mr. Speaker, with due respect to the Chair, whom I respect so much, Honorable Muturi Kigano, we know very well this joint committee, Mr. Speaker, was in line with Article 118 of the Constitution as far as public participation is concerned when it comes to matters of legislation. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Honorable Lago for the clarity that this committee needs extension, yes. But the issue is their responsibility is to compile a report, Mr. Speaker, as per the views of the public. My humble request is, it is a delicate balance. But to me, I strongly believe within 1 week, you can be able to compile that report, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when under the Article 257, I want to agree with Honorable Honorable Badi. This House, Mr. Speaker, is ceremonial in the sense that it's a conveyor belt. It doesn't matter whatever decision you're going to make, but we must debate this bill, and it has to go to His Excellency the President for purposes of ascending, then we go for a referendum. So without wasting time, Mr. Speaker, I'm humbly requesting the JLAC Committee to be given 1 week to compile this report and bring it to the floor of this House for this Parliament to make a decision, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Honorable Ishongwa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I want to support the request by the Chair, JLAC, for an extension. First, of course, Honorable Speaker, because BBI is not an emergency. If the Chair was seeking extension for vaccination over COVID-19 or things that deal with livelihoods of Kenyans, maybe then would be debating. But BBI, to me, is not an emergency, and therefore want to support the extension. Honorable Speaker, I had opportunity to listen in to some of the things that were raised during the public participation. One of the most profound issues I had is on the question of delimitation of our boundaries and constituency boundaries and new constituencies, Honorable Speaker. And these are not light matters, Honorable Speaker, to say that JLAC can just brush aside. And it is true. They have a repository of very good, seasoned experts. The committee of experts is ably represented by the Vice Chair of the committee, Honorable Otiende Omolo. But, Honorable Speaker, the issues raised are so pertinent even to members in this House that we cannot take this business, that this House will just become a conveyor belt of this BBI process. Honorable Speaker, it is only right that we give the committee time to interrogate all the issues, including the political issues like the delimitation of constituencies and constitutional matters like that of delimitation. Why should we expect a report that is half-baked, Honorable Speaker, only for that report to be challenged in court tomorrow? Let us give the committee time so that they give us a well-reasoned report that can stand and withstand the test of time and legalities, even in the courts of law, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I beg to support the extension.
Member for Nyando.
I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as per your directive that you gave a fortnight ago, I came here ready to debate the bill, only to be told today that the committee that was given the mandate to look into it are seeking an extension of time. This is betrayal. The members of our county assemblies strewn across the 47 counties did their part within a very short period of time. Today we are here procrastinating about the need to move this to the next level. Honorable Speaker, whereas there could be typo issues that call for additional time, asking for an indefinite period of time is also more betrayal to the Kenyan people. We can accept a period of 1 week, and we can, wait in order that we get the best of document for the people of Kenya. But just as my colleagues have alluded, the work of Parliament at this stage is to move it to the next without necessarily getting into the depth and width of the entire document, Honorable Speaker. All people represented in this House subscribed to political parties that took their views before several committees, Honorable Speaker. So in order to interfere at this point in time feeds into what was told to us 2 weeks ago, Honorable Speaker, that there were members of the executive who were out to meddle with the affairs of this constitutional making process, Honorable Speaker. And we reject in totality that kind of a move. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. 1 week will make do for me and for this House as well. Thank you again.
Member for Tharaka.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I sat in that committee and we had very weighty deliberations. In fact, we took the entire day to try and isolate the issues that came out of the public participation. And I got to inform this House that public participation is not just cosmetic, that we just go sit in a room, listen to people, and brush aside whatever they say. The courts, if we ever try that, we will not go far, because we will have it annulled, and whatever we do will be declared null and void. The position is that we have come up with several issues that require in-depth legal interpretation, and we require legal research that must be done by our legal team. It is true, and we must confess, even if Honorable John Aloj has said we never talked about experts. We actually talked about them. We made an allusion to them, that there are some areas that we may need to hear from experts. And not that I am a lawyer, I'm not an expert in everything. There are areas that I require help, and there may be some areas where we will also require help. This is the reason we made an allusion to experts. But the truth is, various weighty issues have come up. One of them is by IEBC. Another one is by a public participant who actually informed us in broad daylight that we may not need to go to a referendum, because we look at 255(1). Most of the issues therein may not be actually in this bill. That we need to look at. So when we come to this House, I got to give my opinion. When we come to this House, we will bring all these issues in the form of a report that this House will.
Now, honor members, let me hear from the member for Homa Bay Town.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is the first time possibly we may be having our constitution subjected to referendum following popular initiative. And Mr. Speaker, when we did our public participation there, for those who cared to watch, very many issues from very many individuals, mostly very serious organizations, others government institutions, including Kenya Law Reform Commission, arose. Mr. Speaker, our thinking was a committee was that this being the first time we are doing it, let us come up with a report which will not only guide the interpretation of the over 12 matters pending in court as we speak, but also guide the other processes for posterity. And Mr. Speaker, those issues may even include a definite position of this parliament coming from the committee on what really is the role of parliament in this process. If you take from what Honorable Kajwang was talking about, we may say parliament has no role, but in what provision of the Constitution is that? So, Mr. Speaker, I'm requesting that you allow us only 14 days. And Mr. Speaker, we have requested We have delineated these issues very clearly. There are about 7 issues. We have tasked our legal team to research into them. We had agreed we will be meeting with your leave, Mr. Speaker, possibly towards the end of the week to make a resolution on them. And then we do a report which can guide the process. We request for 14 days. And Mr. Speaker, I urge honorable colleagues to enable us to do a good job, not the perfunctory job we are being pushed into. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, honourable members, I think I've had quite a number of you, and I think there's no need for the chairman to explain some of what he calls substantive issues, because in any event, Mr. Chairman, you will be able to deal with those substantive issues in your report. So there's no point. I think the case has been made for the request. No, there's nothing to explain at this point, Chairman. We will strike a balance. We'll strike a balance. Honorable Kigano.
Yes. Your indulgence.
Yes, yes.
So that some of the members, most of the members can appreciate. I just give them a retinue of what is involved.
No.
So that they will be able.
No need. The case is made. The case. That's what I'm saying.
I see it guarded.
You made a case.
Yes. Okay.
In any event, you have not. I have a copy of the statement which you made, which shows the issues that you call 6 thematic areas and various components of it.
Yeah,
so
you have that sheet.
I'll grant an extension of 10 days. We must strike a balance. We grant you 10 days from the date of today, meaning that you table the report on Thursday. What is called Fool's Day? What is 1st of April in the afternoon? See, honourable members, since we meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they will table their report on 1st of April, otherwise popularly known as the Fool's Day. None of course is expected to be a fool. But you table the report on 1st. You can now go, if you say you want experts, I don't know from where now. Will you get them from, you are going to get experts from some place, I think, from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Very well, you get the experts, but table your report on 1st. As you would expect, Chairman, I'm always kept abreast of developments even in committees, and therefore I even know the status of the draft. I know the status. So I know you could even have tabled it on 30th, but I've given you an extra 3 days. So you table the report on 1st of April. I'm aware. I want the House to note this. Notwithstanding what the committee members are saying, I am fully aware of the status of the draft. You have already embarked on doing the report. I am aware. Maybe you may not know that I know, but I know. I know the status of the draft report. So you should be able to, whether you are going to call experts from heaven or wherever, please bring the report here on 1st of April. Let's go to the next order. Honourable members, as a consequence of that directive, I therefore order that the bill, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, be on the order paper for second reading on 1st of April. With or without a report. This house has very many experts. This house has very many experts. You will see when the debate commences. Indeed, honourable members, as you may wish to look at the on the paper, you see that there is a proposal to increase the number of minutes each member will be allocated if the House agrees. So let's move to the next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, limitation of debate on bills under Article 257 of the Constitution.
Leader of Majority.
Honourable Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 97-1, and notwithstanding the resolution of the House of February 10, 2021, each speech in debate on bills under Article 257 of the Constitution, amendment of the Constitution by popular initiative, shall be limited as follows. A maximum of 60 minutes for the mover in moving, and 30 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 15 minutes for any other member speaking, except for the Leader of Majority Party, Leader of Minority Party, and Chairperson of the relevant committee, if the bill is not moved by a committee, who shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes each, and a priority in speaking be accorded to the Leader of Majority, the Leader of the Minority Party, and Chairperson of the relevant committee in that order. Honourable Speaker, as members who agree, we are dealing with a very important matter, and it's important that members be given maximum opportunity to converse on the matters or to deliberate on the matters contained within the BBI bill, and hence the normal 10 minutes may not suffice, and hence the request that we extend by 50% the normal time that is usually allocated for debate in the House. Honourable Speaker, we will also wish we could get some protection from rather loud consultations. Yeah. Thank you. Honourable Speaker, the other request we would be asking is that even as we get to the debate, you know, our standing orders do not allow members to read notes. You know, you're supposed to debate. But on this particular matter, we'll be asking you at the appropriate time to allow members to actually have some notes that they could even substantively read, to put on record their thoughts so that future generation will be able to see what this House went through on a clause by clause, and hence, you know, within to arrange the 15 minutes to make it more productive and efficient, we'll be asking for that at some appropriate time using your standing order number 1 to guide in terms of exemptions to, you know, the extent to which members can actually use notes, not just for reference, but substantively. Honourable Speaker, this again, it's a straightforward matter, and hence I really don't want to get deeper into it. I thank you for your ruling that we have this matter debated on first, because it's important. We can't keep Kenyans guessing for a long time. We need to unlock other systems. And Kenyans, we agreed, we promised that this House will be able to handle this matter expeditiously. And hence, Kenyans out there are actually looking at when is the House going to pronounce itself on this matter and put our thoughts on this matter, on clause by clause or whatever we debate, so that future generations will know the first major amendment, what was the view of the House. I mean, with those few remarks, I beg to move and request the Honourable John Buddy, Leader of Minority, to second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a procedural motion. For the first time, we are going to debate on a bill that has the effect of actualizing Article 257 of the Constitution, and therefore, it is not just any other bill. That's why we are requesting that members be given a little bit more time to be able to prosecute issues that they want to prosecute for record purposes and for history. Because several years from today, Kenyans will make references, and even other people will make references of what was actually said about this bill. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't want to belabor the point. I just want to say I second this procedural motion. Thank you.
On the members, where's this one? This member who does not. Take your seat. Take your seat. Take your seat. Honourable members, I propose the question, which is that pursuant to provisions of Standing Order 97, subsection 1, and notwithstanding the resolution of the House of February 10, 2021, each speech in debate on bills under Article 257 of the Constitution relating to amendment of the Constitution by popular initiative shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 60 minutes for the mover in moving and 30 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 15 minutes for any other member speaking, except for the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee, if the bill is not moved by a committee, who shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes, each, and that priority in speaking be according to the leader of majority party, leader of minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee, in that order. Very well. I put the question that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 97, subsection 1, and notwithstanding the resolution of the House of February 10, 2021, each speech in debate on bills under Article 257 of the Constitution shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 60 minutes for the mover in moving, and 30 minutes in replying, and a maximum of 15 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee, if the bill is not sponsored, not moved by the committee, which shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes each, and that priority in speaking be according to the leader of the majority party, leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee, in that order. Will as many as that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Order number 9, procedural motion, reduction of publication period for a specified bill.
Chairperson, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill, number 9 of 2021, from 7 days to 1 day. Honorable Speaker, this is more of a procedural motion, and what we intend to achieve is to hasten the process. Honorable Speaker, I'm made to understand that when the supplementary budget was tabled, Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury has not been disbursing exchequer releases. Honorable Speaker, if we are able to enact this, Honorable Speaker, we will have ministries, departments, and agencies getting their rightful share for this financial year. Honorable Speaker, with those very few remarks, I want to request the leader of the whip, the majority whip, to second. I thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion by the Chair Budget and Appropriation. And this motion being a very straightforward motion, I wouldn't want to belabor and take too much time. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, I second.
I propose a question, which is that notwithstanding the provision of Standing Order 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021, from 7 days to 1 day. I put the question, as the House demands, that notwithstanding the provision standing under 120, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021, from 7 days to 1 day. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of certain sums of money out of the consolidated fund and the application towards the service for the year ending on 30th June 2021, and to appropriate those sums for certain public services and purposes. Order number 11, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021, second reading. Question to be put.
Honourable members, member for Kangema. Yeah, you still have, don't worry, just remain like that. Honourable members, I put the question, which is that the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2021, be now read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many as the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the equitable division of revenue raised nationally between the national and county governments in the year 2021-2022 and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 12, the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021, second reading.
Chair, Budget and Appropriations Committee.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021 be read a second time. Honorable Speaker, maybe to just jog the memory of members. Honorable Speaker, we submitted a report to this House, a report that was actually adopted, and basically, Mr. Speaker, this is a copy and paste of the report that we did last week on Thursday, and I really want to thank members who contributed on the same, made their recommendations and also reservations, Mr. Speaker, which of course we say that we are going to take into account as we move. But maybe, Mr. Speaker, just to pick a few highlights, Honorable Speaker, is that, Honorable Speaker, the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021, has been prepared and introduced in this House, pursuant to Standing Order 127.2 and in line with the PFM Act 2012 and Article 223 of the 2010 Constitution. Honorable Speaker, I would like to confirm that the contents in the Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2021 are in line with the House resolution on the approved reports of the Budget Committee. This is in accordance with the provisions of Standing Order 244B. Honorable Speaker, the Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2021 thus seeks to give authority for issuance of Kenya shilling 125.16 billion shillings out of the consolidated funds and applied towards the supply granted for the services of the year ending on the 30th June 2021. Honorable Speaker, the projected revenue collection for the financial year 2020-2021 has been revised downwards to Kenya shilling 1,850 billion shillings from the estimated Kenya shilling 1.89 trillion shillings on the beginning of the financial year. However, the expenditure in this supplementary is increasing by Kenya shilling 125.16 billion shillings. Honorable Speaker, as I mentioned in the report, in the approved report, the increase in this supplementary is mostly under the development budget, which has increased by Kenya shilling 58.81 billion. This is on account of adjustments of donor funding and as well as several adjustments across board. I'm glad, Honorable Speaker, to note that there is an additional allocation of 13.6 billion shillings to cater for the arrears in CDF, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, further, the recurrent expenditure has increased by Kenya shilling 20.22 billion, while the consolidated fund services expenditure has increased by 45.65 billion shillings. Honorable Speaker, during our review of the supplementary budget, we noted that the supplementary budget was based on the need to take care of post-COVID-19 related interventions, payments of pending bills, salary adjustments, change in development partners, funded projects, and also rationalization of the budget, among other challenges. Honorable Speaker, we also noted that the impact of the macroeconomic framework upon approval of the supplementary budget remains or is retained at the fiscal deficit, that is 8.7% of the gross domestic product, GDP, that is taking into account the amendment that if you are also taking into account the amendments that were approved by this House. It is, however, important, Honorable Speaker, to mention that if the arrears for the county government for the financial year 2019-2020 are actualized in this current financial year, then the fiscal deficit as the percentage of GDP will substantially increase. Honorable Speaker, it is our expectation that the National Treasury will speed up the release of these funds to the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as Parliament and Judiciary. The committee and this House expects that the spending agencies will be prudent and compliant to the fiscal responsibility principles in the utilization of the appropriated funds and focus on achieving the planned outputs and targets that will benefit the people of this great republic. We continue, Mr. Speaker, to urge that priority on requisition and payments should be focused on settlement of pending bills. Honorable Speaker, pending bills are literally everywhere, in all ministries, in all departments, and also in county governments, and is actually choking the country. So it's our request and our directive that we have done that the government should focus on settling these pending bills. Honorable Speaker, it is therefore my present undertaking on behalf of the Budget and Appropriations Committee to recommend that the bill be read a second time. In addition, Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform the House that I will be moving a slight amendment in the Committee of the whole House, whose intention is to correct an omission to cater for adequate salary provision for the Kenya Industrial Estate. Honorable Speaker, I thank you, and I would request the Whip, Honorable Wangwe, to second. Thank you. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to second the motion by the Chair, Budget and Appropriation. The Honorable Speaker, as members are going through the appropriation bill for the supplementary one, it's important to note very salient issues that might be in this proposal, Honorable Speaker. For instance, Honorable Speaker, there are issues which we noted as a committee in terms of the legal observations, for example, where the committee noted that there are some gaps in the formatting, the structure, and content of the supplementary budget, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's important, in as much as we are dealing with figures, it's important to note the configuration of those figures and how they have come about. Honorable Speaker, there is also the issue of the expansion of the Whereas, Honorable Speaker, there is an increase in spending through these supplementary estimates, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's important that we incur expenditure as a government, but it should be contained, Honorable Speaker, and that is why it's important, as members debate these supplementary estimates, they note that fact, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there is also the issue of extensive budget cuts for state-owned enterprises, an issue which, Honorable Speaker, is important that the Committee on Finance should really move in, Honorable Speaker, and advise the Treasury. Why are we keeping this state-owned enterprise, Honorable Speaker? Why are we incurring costs to pay salaries? Why should we do that? Yet, Honorable Speaker, the government can easily diversify, get away from doing this, supporting these state-owned enterprises, and come up with commercialize them. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, this is a good note that the Committee on Finance should be able to look at as we canvass through these supplementary estimates, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, also what is in these supplementary estimates to note that members need to know is the issue of pending bills. Honorable Speaker, it's very difficult, it's solidly as a solution to be found to sustain, eliminate pending bills, and this can only be through the Public Finance Management Act. Honorable Speaker, it's important that as members canvass through these estimates, they need to know that pending bills are keeping on increasing. Today we are talking of about 150 billion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker, in terms of pending bills, only which have been awarded by courts. How about those other pending bills which have not gone through the courts and are due for payment? Therefore, Honorable Speaker, it's important we look at the issue of pending bills in line with the Public Finance Management Act 2012, so that we can push the Treasury officials when they are doing their budgets, let them quickly and consider the issues of pending bills. Honorable Speaker, there are also issues of prioritization in terms of completion of projects, whereby we don't want projects to continue piling. New projects are coming up and old ones are not getting completion. Let us allocate, let's look at the issue in which they've allocated the projects in line with how they've been started and which are the other new ones that are coming up. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I second. Thank you.
I propose a question, which is that the Supplementary Appropriations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021, be now read a second time. Yes. I see the new member for Kabuchai wants to make his maiden speech. Very well. As usual, no members, the member is to be heard in silence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time to make this my first remark in this very honorable August House. Speaker, this the supplementary appropriation bill on Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021, and I still ask this same government again to prioritize the payment, to prioritize the payment of the pending bills. Because when you look at how we are doing some business in this country, most businessmen who are doing business with the government and other institutions are being auctioned based on on delay of payment. As I say that, Mr. Speaker, I now want to first of all thank the people of Kabuchai. The people of Kabuchai woke up in the morning, queued long lines on 4th of March to elect me to come to this honorable house. I want to commit myself that while here, I will do service to them. I will do all that they want me to do in terms of legislation, in oversight, and other things that pertain to this August House today, and in the future for the 1 year and some time remaining for me. Mr. Speaker, I also want to take this time to thank you. And I know that if today I die, which I don't want to, your name will be written in my obituary, having been the Speaker who has sworn me the first time to stand on this floor and be a member of this Parliament. I want to say this because never did I know that this house can be occupied by anybody like me coming from the lower hills of Kabuchai. I have come here to serve the people. I will serve the people without fear of contradiction. I will serve without prejudice. I will serve the people of Kenya because this is a national government. This is a national parliament. So finally, sir, and Mr. Speaker, as I come to the conclusion, I still want to say this, that as a country, we must see what pains our people. We must see the tax regime that hurts our economy. We must see our people, when we have tax regimes, we must first of all see, are they favorable? Because in the essence, tax is supposed to bring down, is supposed to take wealth from the rich class and uplift the lower class to attain a common economic front. So in any case, if you go down, it does not only have to come in terms of whatever. Even looking at the tax regime in our county governments down there, Mr. Speaker, we must see if one mama selling bananas on a market, the total stock of the banana is 20 shillings, and the county government brings a receipt of 50 shillings, Mr. Speaker. That does not make sense, that businesswoman, or that businessman. We must see how to exempt small businessmen and small young boys who should come up with business and encourage them to come into business, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I cannot finish my speech today if I don't thank the people who came together to unite together and supported me to win this election and come to this August House. I cannot forget my party leader, Honorable Moses Maskawetango. I cannot forget leaders like Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. Mr. Speaker, I cannot forget leaders like Gideon Moi. I can't forget Musalia Mudavadi. They came to my rescue when I was being fixed, Mr. Speaker. Here I come in this house. I want to thank Honorable Chris Omaro. He was my chief agent, and others. I see ladies here, serious ladies who came to the crown, Mr. Speaker. Here I am. I will serve. After that, after election, Mr. Speaker, I will serve everybody. Whether you supported me or you didn't support me, here we are as a house. Here we must bring our heads together. This is a house of brains, Mr. Speaker. We must bring brains. Whether brains come from coalition A or coalition B, the brains are brains. We must develop the people of Kenya. There I come and I finish, Mr. Speaker. Last Sunday, when I was in church, praying with one of my good schools, Luya Girls, the Speaker, I took my time to wish all the candidates, and I still want to wish them here. Mr. Speaker, on this honorable floor of the House, I wish all my candidates success, and in Kenya as a whole, because now I'm talking as a national member of parliament, and I'm here, Mr. Speaker, to represent Kenyans. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as part of the practice of the House, I'm learning standing orders. I'll be close to people, even those who are not with me, like Honorable Munyinyi. I will respect him. I will go to him to teach me standing orders. And as a chairman, Mr. Speaker, I want again to say that recently, when I was at home, did I know less that when songs were sung in this house, that Kimunya must go, I never knew what was the meaning, Mr. Speaker. Recently, when I came here, I saw the true Kimunya here. Let's put together heads, Mr. Speaker, what he tabled here the other day about how we're going to assist a CDF. Let it be followed, Mr. Speaker, because our kids on the lower side of Kenya rely on bursary. They rely on CDF. CDF works more than other monies in this country that is devolved. I raised my case and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Majimbo Kalasinga from the lower hills of Kapchai.
Member for Kikuyu.
Honorable Speaker, let me begin by congratulating the member from the lower hills of Kabuchai on his win. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this supplementary appropriations bill. Honorable Speaker, as I contributed to the report last week, I did raise concerns on the question of pending bills, Honorable Speaker. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, you've heard even from the chair and those who've contributed ahead of me that there is indeed a real and legitimate concern on the question of pending bills. Honorable Speaker, last year, when the COVID pandemic came in and we created the 53 billion shillings COVID package, I can't remember what we called it, we allocated close to 13 billion shillings to go towards pending bills, Honorable Speaker. And it's shocking, Honorable Speaker, that to date, departments like that of the State Correctional Services, the Prisons Department, are yet to settle claims, pending bills that were owed to people. The National Youth Service, Honorable Speaker, that specifically was allocated funds, the same thing, Honorable Speaker. And this continues to date. Honorable Speaker, the concern that you see the committee raising on pending bills is very legitimate. If you go through the report, Honorable Speaker, you notice a building like the one that is just next to us, Sharia House, Honorable Speaker, the AG chambers. There is work ongoing there, Honorable Speaker, and those are some of the buildings, Honorable Speaker, that were targeted for reductions. And this will just create unnecessary pending bills even in the coming years. Our own building, Honorable Speaker, why not for the Commissioner Kainan moving the amendment, Honorable Speaker, the building that the National Assembly has been building here, Honorable Speaker. Again, we'll get into more pending bills if we continue cutting development expenditure. And I really want to plead with the National Treasury to desist from cutting development expenditure in the course of the financial year because it creates a lot of unnecessary bills. Honorable Speaker, let me also commend the committee because where the National Treasury had erred, Honorable Speaker, for instance, I see they had gone against the provisions of Regulation 48 of the PFM regulations in awarding or allocating money to new projects. And specifically, Honorable Speaker, my concern is that some of the new projects, Honorable Speaker, that you see are not projects that are of emergency in nature. When you allocate new funds, and that's why I commend the committee because they declined the allocation of an additional 100 million shillings to a new project to construct a slaughterhouse in Marsabit, Honorable Speaker. Let me commend the committee because it is not only against the PFM regulations, but it's also a very bad step to take in terms of financial management, starting new projects in the course of the financial year, Honorable Speaker, that were not planned for. I wish, Honorable Speaker, that new money is being allocated to things that are of emergency in nature. Honorable Speaker, how I wish that money was being allocated to ensure that Kenyans get the vaccine to their local areas, to the local dispensaries, Honorable Speaker, that those people who have lost jobs, Honorable Speaker, are able to get money, even money going to CDF, Honorable Speaker, and when you see members raising issues about CDF, it is because this is money that is going to invigorate economic activities in the grassroots and giving money to people at the grassroots level, and therefore helping our economy to grow. Honorable Speaker, I only wish that the National Treasury will endeavor in future to ensure that any new money that comes in the course of the year to new projects are projects that are in strict adherence to the PFM regulations and our own statutes, the PFM Act, that no new project is initiated in the course of the year, Honorable Speaker. You see a lot of money going on, again also, Honorable Speaker, to revitalize state corporations and others that are not state corporations, Honorable Speaker. Like Kenya Airways is not a state corporation per se in the strict definition of what ought to be a state corporation, Honorable Speaker, because there's private equity in Kenya Airways, they are private shareholders, and yet we continue to inject billions of shillings, Honorable Speaker. I did indicate here last week, we are injecting not less than 28 billion shillings to an institution or an organization like KQ that cumulatively has lost close to 46 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker. What assurances are there that these 28 billion shillings will go to reinvigorate KQ and ensure that KQ returns to profitability? And what assurances are there that that money will also not sink into the same hole that we have sunk 46 billion shillings, Honorable Speaker? It is this concern, Honorable Speaker, that I want to raise and ask that the National Treasury is careful in terms of prioritizing where to take money, Honorable Speaker. We're in a very dire situation in this country, Honorable Speaker. Our revenues, Honorable Speaker, are battered badly, not just by the pandemic also only, Honorable Speaker, but also because the nature of our economy, Honorable Speaker, is such that we have been over-dependent on a few revenue streams, that when those revenue streams are battered, Honorable Speaker, it affects all our national collections in revenue, Honorable Speaker. Why you see many of us subscribe to the narrative of a bottom-up approach, Honorable Speaker, is because when you empower people from the bottom, Honorable Speaker, you are creating a larger tax base. And the challenge we've had in this country is having a tax base that is so shallow that we continue to overtax a few million people of Kenyans who are taxpayers, Honorable Speaker, those who are in employment and other formal engagement, Honorable Speaker. Not more than 6 million people paying taxes with tens of millions of others who depend on the few taxpayers. But if we expand our tax base at the bottom of the pyramid, Honorable Speaker, we'll be able to create new taxpayers who will then be converted from not just being a burden to our economy, but being contributors to our national revenues. And that is how we'll be able to grow. As the President was saying yesterday in Dodoma during the requiem mass for the late President Magufuli, that indeed, and I want to agree with President Uhuru Kenyatta, that Magufuli showed us that it is possible for countries to develop and grow in Africa without depending on foreign aid and without depending on borrowed funds, Honorable Speaker. And I'm not saying it is bad to borrow, but let us borrow money and put it into productive economic activities that will grow our economies. We must therefore, Honorable Speaker, even as we support this appropriations bill, caution the National Treasury, Honorable Speaker, that we will be vigilant to ensure that money is going to the right priorities. We should not allow, and that's why I commended the Budget and Appropriations Committee, to have new projects like construction of a slaughterhouse. There is nothing of emergency nature in construction of a slaughterhouse, as much as I've been a butcher of repute and a butcher of many years, Honorable Speaker. But I want to say there are other ways, Honorable Speaker, that we can do many of these things, including supporting KMC and others that are already established without necessarily going into things that may be politically expedient for us. And let me also express, Honorable Speaker, to ask the CS National Treasury to be balanced in how he is allocating funds, particularly in the region where he comes from. It is a question of financial prudence, Honorable Speaker, and good governance to ensure that when you are in public service and in a public office, you do not use that office, Honorable Speaker, to do things that are politically expedient, to do things that will favor certain regions, certain ethnic communities at the expense of other regions, Honorable Speaker. And I really want to challenge the CS National Treasury to rise above small issues and be a leader that will be able to allocate resources across the nation, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me support this appropriations bill, and in closing, ask, Honorable Speaker, because we are in the CDF agitation period, that CDF, Honorable Speaker, when you see members of parliament become very agitated and very aggressive in asking for their resources to be released to their CDF accounts, and I am glad, as of today, Honorable Speaker, I can see they are close to about 38% of what was budgeted for in this financial year, Honorable Speaker. And I've seen a letter that the Leader of Majority has committing to 2 billion shillings every week. Honorable Speaker, let me be on record to ask the National Treasury that that must not be a cosmetic, as much as put it in writing. It must not be something to come and hoodwink members of parliament here. If by 30th of April, CS Ukuri Atani has not disbursed the entire amount that was budgeted this year, and by 30th of, actually mid-June, Honorable Speaker, because he's committing to 27th of June, the arrears of 13 billion shillings, I don't think we'll have any business, Honorable Speaker, considering the annual estimates for the next financial year, if we cannot actualize what we budgeted for in this financial year, Honorable Speaker, and we must sound that warning to CS Ukuri Atani. Before you bring the estimates, ensure we have the full allocation of CDF for 2020-21 and arrears before we process those estimates, Honorable Speaker. It is not a threat, it is good advice to CS Ukuri Atani. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to support.
Kalimulu.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Let me also join my chair of the committee in supporting this bill, Honorable Speaker, the supplementary bill. Honorable Speaker, this is a follow-up, this bill is actually drawn from the report which was discussed by this House last week, and it was passed by the House. So we're just making it now an act of parliament by passing this bill. But Honorable Speaker, we want to make the following observations. And most of these things we have said them, Honorable Speaker, in the past in this House. That's why I want to agree with honorable members who are saying that the Treasury needs to take their time and do a more serious job in terms of budgeting process, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think the challenge we have in this country, and which we must address, is that we are doing our budgets at a time when revenues are really not behaving the way they are expected to behave. Our projections in terms of revenue, Honorable Speaker, are to some extent not realistic. And I think really what is happening is, and I've said this many times, we need to ask ourselves, where are we not getting it right, Honorable Speaker? Because, Honorable Speaker, if you look at during the era of Honorable Mike Kibaki as the president of this country was almost collecting about 23% of the GDP in terms of revenue. We've now gone down to about 15% if you look at the current projections. And the question I ask myself is, what has happened? Why are things not working as expected? And I think, Honorable Speaker, a lot of factors have been attributed to this. Some, like where we have leakages in the system. Some where, Honorable Speaker, we are giving waivers and people are taking advantage of that. And just in general administration of revenue collection, Honorable Speaker. So what is happening, Honorable Speaker, is that if we have to really help this country, I think our first point in terms of focus should be the way we are collecting our revenue. And once we collect revenue, Honorable Speaker, you realize that issues of supplementary budget, where we are talking about under provision or no provision at all, or emergencies, will be able to be taken care of. So, Honorable Speaker, my contribution would be really the Finance Committee of this House, working closely with all other relevant committees, needs to interrogate the issue of revenue collection and try to find out where are we not getting it right. The other issue, Honorable Speaker, is the issue of parastatus, and I like what my colleagues are saying, that this parastatus, Honorable Speaker, we must come up with a way of really ensuring that the money we give to the parastatus ends up improving the lives of Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, most of these parastatus have just become institutions where they just draw money from the exchequer and nothing comes from the other side. And I think now what we need, Honorable Speaker, is a situation where, as a House, we interrogate their budgets. And I've said this many times. If we really want to get this budget right, Honorable Speaker, time might come where we must start demanding enough itemized budget for some of these sagas, so that we really see what is it that they are doing with the money they are being given. Because, Honorable Speaker, when we give these institutions only money for paying salaries, and they are supposed to be investment institutions for this government, then there is a question mark. So I would really want to encourage that really we start interrogating budgets for parastatus in more details. The third point, Honorable Speaker, if you look at this supplementary budget, you realize there's a lot of, we are now providing, we are underprovided for salaries. We want either now to meet that gap, or something was left out completely and we want now to provide. And Honorable Speaker, I was asking myself this question. In a year, in an organization, you know your employees. You know we have how many clerks, we have how many senior officers, we have how many CEOs and all that. And informed by that, you come up with a budget on salaries. So, Honorable Speaker, unless you have sacked people or you have employed additional people, you have no reason to ask for more resources on salaries, or unless you have added salaries, because there could be salary increase, Honorable Speaker. And that's something you find anytime we discuss the budgets, it doesn't come out clear. Why are we being asked to provide for salaries? Is it that people were sacked? Is it that people were overemployed? Or is it that people were added salaries? And I think that's an area really, this is an area, Honorable Speaker, we need to push, add. Because I see a situation where, Honorable Speaker, this house must be appropriating resources to pay ghost workers. And if that happens, then automatically we are in shit in terms of financial management. The other point, Honorable Speaker, which is important, as we discuss the supplementary budget, the issue of new projects, I think the law is clear that in a supplementary budget, you shouldn't introduce new development projects. The law is very clear. So really, I don't see why it should even be a matter of being debated in this House. We should just get a supplementary budget where that is not there. And if you really think these new projects are important, Honorable Speaker, then we are almost doing the estimates next month. You can bring those new projects in the estimates so that we start introducing, Honorable Speaker, some credibility in the budget-making process. Because I think that is lacking to some extent. The other issue, Honorable Speaker, which is important, is, Honorable Speaker, time has come where we need to tighten our belts. I think we are biting more than we can swallow. We are biting more than we can chew. And the time has come, we must tighten our belt, which in technical terms, we call it austerity measures. Now, Honorable Speaker, we need as a House to be more thorough and ensure that we are only approving what I would call growth-enhancing expenditure. Expenditure which is going to grow the cake. Because by growing the cake, Honorable Speaker, and in economics we say growing the cake is economic growth, now the cake will be bigger and we can share it so that people get a bigger cake, and in that case then we'll be able to accommodate our needs as a country. So, Honorable Speaker, for me, I think this is really an area where we need to push it. And that's why I've said many times, Honorable Speaker, when we see resources being requested to go to the area of Kasi Mtaani, additional resources for Kasi Mtaani, when we see resources being requested, Honorable Speaker, when honorable members are saying, give more money to CDF, it makes a lot of sense. Because, Honorable Speaker, this is the money which will go to the grassroots and immediately kind of stimulate demand. And by stimulating demand, our suppliers will be able to provide goods and services, and the economy will grow. So to me, these are the kind of expenditure we are saying we need to promote as House, so that at the end of the day, then the economy realizes some growth and we're able to factor our things. Honorable Speaker, the issue of public debt is an issue we have to live with. And I just want to say this on public debt, Honorable Speaker. The issue of the foreign, the currency in which our debts are denominated, has now become an issue of concern. Because our Kenyan shilling keeps on depreciating, Honorable Speaker, and as a result of that depreciation, the loans, without anything changing, are becoming more expensive in terms of repayment. And I think that's why you see even in the supplementary budget, you have to keep on providing more additional resources to factor in that exchange rate variability, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, it is important that now, I don't know that I wish there was a way we could denominate our public foreign debt in a currency like Kenya shilling, so that even if we negotiate, we push for a situation where the denomination will be Kenyan shilling, so that issues of exchange rate don't affect us. And this year has been worse, Honorable Speaker. We're looking through what is the demand for dollar in the world because of what is happening all over the place. So actually the exchange rate has really contributed to a big portion of this change, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, to me, these are some of the things I think as a House, even as we approve this supplementary budget, and we approve this bill to become an act of Parliament that has moved to the future, these are some of the things we can't ignore as a House. And the House needs to be more thorough, the House needs to be now more alert, so that as we approach to the future, Honorable Speaker, we start now narrowing our budgeting process to areas where we enhance growth in this country. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Shall we have Honorable Ogutu Abel? That member has taken leave. Then let's have Honorable Kimani Kuya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance to contribute to supplementary appropriation bill of 2021. Mr. Speaker, from the onset, this supplementary bill seeks to authority to disburse 125.16 billion out of the consolidated fund and the application towards services applied to government for the year ending June of 2021. Mr. Speaker, I was asking myself, where are we here at the supplementary budget? Why are these expenses that we want to the distribution of approved at the supplementary budget not there in the main budget? And Mr. Speaker, the biggest reason that we were given on as a committee of budget and committee was poor revenue performance due to especially the COVID-19 pandemic that begot us last year. Mr. Speaker, but also we are here because this House, in its wisdom, following a request by His Excellency the President, reduced several taxes that would have netted the gap that we are trying to finance today. The reduction of income tax from 30% to 25%, VAT from 16% to 14%, and the bandwidth that we removed for pay, Mr. Speaker. And as a result, we find ourselves with not being able to finance the budget that we passed as a House, and therefore now coming up with this supplementary budget. So, but is it important? Do we need to do this? Mr. Speaker, once we approve this supplementary budget, it's going to unlock funds that should be, once we approve this appropriation bill, it's going to unlock funds that will be disbursed to our constituencies as CDF funds. It's going to go towards payment of pending mills and completion of government projects, Mr. Speaker. The pending mills, Mr. Speaker, has been a great concern for this House. In its case, Mr. Speaker, it's an illegality that year in, year out, we must discuss usually a supplementary budget to approve disbursement of payment of pending mills. When I served in the Committee of Public Accounts Committee, the question of pending mills has been flagged off by the internal auditor every year. And we just sit down and ask, why is it that we always have these pending bills every year, year in, year out? And what they do, Mr. Speaker, they crowd out the availability of finances to business people. And that's why we have people that do not necessarily want to work with government unless you are a multi-billionaire. That you cannot possibly, a young person cannot possibly go and take a loan at the bank at 14% interest per annum to go and do a government project and expecting that they're going to get a payment after they do the work and that will go towards paying that bill. The pending bills in the National Youth Service, the pending bills by prisons, that is correction services, has been a discussion of this House since I joined Parliament in 2017. So what is happening? Why are these accounting officers refusing, because I think the key word here to use is refuse, to distribute these funds towards payment of this pending bills, Mr. Speaker? The issue of expenditure has been discussed, and I want to overemphasize the issue of parastatus. Our committee in its wisdom refused to appropriate funds for institutions like Utalii College, Mr. Speaker. We have these government institutions, parastatus, like Utalii College, and it does not make sense why they make losses. Academic institutions in this country are making billions of shillings. We have institutions like Mount Kenya University, a private institution that has opened branches across Africa. So why is it that this college, called Utalii College, is making losses, and you go across Boma College, this owned by Red Cross, that is offering the same training facility as was being offered by Utalii College, is making a lot of money as profits. Although the hospitality industry has been hard hit by this COVID, we still have many restaurants or many hotels posting profits. Why is it that Utalii Hotel continues to post losses, Mr. Speaker? And this really speaks to imprudent use of government resources. This speaks to imprudent use of, that is plunder in our government institutions, and this has to change. So this House has to make a decision. Do we really need to have government offering these services to the people through this government parastatus? Or do we just need to collapse all of them and send all of them home and just offer those essential services that can only offered by government? So if training can be offered by a private institution, then let a private institution offer that service, that training, and not government. If a hotel product, for example, the hospitality industry, can be offered by the private sector, let it be offered by the private sector and not by government, by a government institution. Because this, Mr. Speaker, just leads to plunder in the use of these government funds, Mr. Speaker. I'll speak into disbursement of these funds. That once we approve as a House that we are appropriating these funds toward these ministries, it is at the discretion of Treasury to know which funds should be distributed when. Mr. Speaker, we are here, and last week we had almost a standstill when it came to with this supplementary, because funds that were supposed to go to CDF had not been disbursed. And whereas some government institutions, some ministries had been disbursed 100% of their requests. So why is it that money that should go directly to Wanjiko down there is not dispersed on time? I'll even give another example. Last week we had comrades, university students, saying that they'll go on strike because funds that is meant for their higher education has not been dispersed to them. Mr. Speaker, I am a product of help. I am here because I came from a village with nothing, went to Kenyatta University, but were it not for the higher education gospel that I received, I probably will not be debating this issue here at the floor of this House. So why is it that Treasury knows that there are these comrades that are suffering? These are the next, the future generation that we expect them to come back and build the economy. That we know we do not have CDF, so we cannot even disburse bursaries to them, and yet we fail to disburse these monies to them. And I think this is the decision that Treasury needs to make. And I wish that the people that sit at the helm of these institutions would understand the plight of that average Kenyan and put their money where the mouth is. So those programs that really touch on government spending, that really touch on the local mwananchi, that is a preference that this disbursement should be made, Mr. Speaker. And with those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Honorable Oudo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2021. Honorable Speaker, the supplementary estimates are made in pursuance of Article 223 of the Constitution of Kenya that allows the national government or treasury to bring requests for additional funding as long as they do not exceed 10% of the appropriated funds. Honorable Speaker, it is important, as we stand here today, as we approve the supplementary budget, a few issues needs to be very clear. Number one, the contemplation under Article 223 was basically to address emerging issues that were not contemplated at the time when the main appropriation bill was being passed. However, Honorable Speaker, for the few years I've been here, I have noticed a very worrying trend. The Treasury uses a supplementary budget, Honorable Speaker, to introduce new projects that were never approved in the first instance. That is unconstitutional, it is illegal, and I urge the Budget and Appropriation Committee to play its role and check these excessive application to ensure that we do not break the law, we do not defranchise the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, secondly, we as members of Parliament have complained bitterly and continuously. Probably we need to look at the provisions of Article 95(4) that bestows the power to make budgets to this House, so that whatever the Treasury brings, we need to find a way, even if it means reviewing the PFM Act, to make sure that whatever Treasury brings, we are capable or we have ability to change and shift money from one point to another. Honorable Speaker, Treasury has made a habit of lumping several government departments in sectors and giving them what they call budget ceiling, without regard to actually what ought to happen on outside there. It is there possible that with the fullness of time, we need to look at that arrangement to allow us, members of Parliament, to move funds to those sectors that are engine drivers, that can drive this economy. Honorable Speaker, we seem to have a lot of funds being directed to non-growth sectors and ignoring the growth sectors. Honorable Speaker, we are not going to grow this economy if we continuously undertake that approach. Honorable Speaker, the issue of supplementary budget, cuts in the development vote, even cuts under the recurrent vote, Honorable Speaker, especially staff for enrollment. I want to address myself on the issue of cuts in the development budget. Honorable Speaker, at the start of the financial year, state departments have a clear procurement plan. At the start of the financial year, when there have been appropriated funds, state departments plan how to spend that money. Honorable Speaker, some immediately initiate the tendering process or the procurement process. Some go to an extent of awarding. Honorable Speaker, and that's why you find pending bills are mounting every single day. It really shows there's either an element of disorganization, there's an element of poor planning, or there's an element of poor forecasting on the issue of revenue and sources of funds. We do believe Treasury is surely populated with highly technical and experienced persons and professionals who should be able to develop models of forecasting revenue and forecasting economic performance. they shouldn't surely subject Kenyans and state departments to frequent cuts that really have got no bearing to the reality on the ground. Honorable Speaker, the pending bills, as my colleagues have stated, is choking this economy. Honorable Speaker, it's a basic principle of economy that funds must circulate for people to work and pay revenue or taxes. If we don't pay the small and medium enterprises, who are the major suppliers, small-scale suppliers, both to the national government and the county government, Honorable Speaker, we are denying these people to run the rural economies. It is important, therefore, Honorable Speaker, the Budget and Appropriation Committee must find a way of forcing Treasury to release funds to these state agencies to pay pending bills so that we can reinvigorate the economy. You can't run an economy if the SMEs have collapsed. We keep on all the time saying the SMEs are the critical cog in the attainment of Vision 2030 goals. Yet, we literally kill them by refusing to pay them in good time. Honorable Speaker, another question that seems to arise is the budget absorption rate. Honorable Speaker, it is surely inconceivable, it's an act of bad faith, let me use that word, that Treasury to release funds for development 2 months to the end of the financial year, knowing very well it's not possible to procure and execute an assignment or a project within 2 months. It is basically a way of telling those departments, we are giving you money, but we are giving you the right and we'll take with the left, because they know they will not be able to spend that money, so that money will have to be returned to the National Treasury. So we need to find a working system whereby funds meant for development are released early enough to enable them to have the impact they ought to have on the national economy. Finally, Honorable Speaker, the issue of taxation. One of the main reasons why we have had supplementary budget is that the revenue have underperformed. The revenue have underperformed, as my colleagues have continuously said. Very few Kenyans shoulder the burden of taxation. Very few Kenyans raise the money to run this economy, to run this country. Yet, probably almost 70% of Kenyans depend on the revenue raised by only 30% or less. Honorable Speaker, Kenya Revenue Authority has been very hard on those genuine taxpayers, to a point that driving some of them out of business due to punitive measures they take to enforce tax collection. It is important that the Finance and Planning Committee needs to look at clearly, how do you deepen taxation? How do we ensure every single Kenyan makes a contribution towards the revenue to run this economy? Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, there are enablers in this economy that requires to be addressed. One of the key enablers is power, energy, or electricity. Honorable Speaker, Kenya remains the country with the highest electricity tariffs. Yet, you read so many sector reports, they say KenGen can produce electricity at a far much lower cost. Yet we have those standalone independent power generators that the country has to buy from them and resell to Kenyans at an exorbitant price. So these are some of the issues, Honorable Speaker. We do request the relevant two committees to have a very sober discussion, an objective discussion, and try to really reorganize and rejig this economy for the purposes of supporting the people of Kenya. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Shall I have Honorable Sarah Korede? And by the way, it will be also very important to hear from chairs of committees as well into this discussion. And I can see, and there are very few chairs here. I can see the one for energy, the one for defense. It will be good to Honorable Sarah.
Will be brief. Thank you.
No, I'm not saying we'll give preference to chairs. We'll give preference to everyone. Very well. Honorable Sarah.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I want to support the Supplementary Appropriation Bill of 2021. And Speaker, as I do this, there are pertinent issues that has been raised on the floor of this House. Speaker, it's also good to notice that the economy is doing not very well, and Treasury has had problems disbursing funds, especially taking into consideration that we are just coming from the pandemic. And Mr. Speaker, sir, having mentioned that, issues of equity and equality has been raised on the floor of this House. And Mr. Speaker, sir, when you are going through serious times, it calls for some serious measures. And prioritization is not a privilege, but it is something that must be seen to be done and must be done by the Treasury. Mr. Speaker, sir, when I talk of equity and equality, you know, it's a bit worrying that as we appropriate funds in this House, you see certain regions getting a lion's share, yet every Kenyan in this country pays taxes just like any other person. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we talk of this appropriation bill, the supplementary budget, it is very unfortunate that Treasury uses supplementary budget to introduce new projects, while we have projects that means a lot, that are ongoing, that has stalled. A good example, Mr. Speaker, which sometimes I think is just very sad to say, but we must say, is the Mitihani House. Mitihani House has been under construction for the last 40 years. And you know, one just wonders, for 40 years, what are they building? And Mr. Speaker, sir, when you are told that examination officials are using air tickets, taxpayers' money to go to London to verify exams simply because there is no examination center in this country, then that is very worrying. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I say this, I must mention that in some regions, Mr. Speaker, sir, especially where me and you come from, you know the Mahigas-Olmoran Road, that every year, year in, year out, has not been funded. Tenders awarded and roads not funded, Mr. Speaker, sir. When we talk of Kazi Mtaani, it is good to give the youth of this country money, yes. But how equitable is that? When you are told that Kazi Mtaani is only done in slums and other informal sectors. Where I come from, there are manyatas. I don't know what kind of settlement manyatas are. But Mr. Speaker, sir, having said that, on the issue of CDF, I want to thank the members of this House. I want to thank the Budget Committee for finally we have united because of the problems of Kenyans. CDF is the only fund that you are sure will reach the common Wanjiko. It is the only fund that you are sure the Mamamboga, you are sure that young fellow in the village will get a contract to construct a class without seeing some big person in government. CDF, Mr. Speaker, sir, is a classical example of what devolution is and what devolution ought to be. So, Speaker, going forward, even as I support the supplementary appropriation bill, I want to kindly ask Treasury to prioritize their budgets, to make sure that even as they appropriate money to this parts of this country, they should do it and equity must seem to be done. And Mr. Speaker, they should stop sneaking new elements and forgetting developments that have been have stalled. Mr. Speaker, sir, on this issue of pending bills, we know Kenyans are dying, not just because of COVID. Some of them are dying from high blood pressure. Some of them are dying from frustration. Some of them have been auctioned, and they are actually hanging themselves before the auctioneers come. So pending bills must be prioritized, must be paid, so that at least there is circulation in this country, and Kenyans can do business with the government without regrets. With that, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support.
Is it Honorable Gitonga? What is out of what is the intervention
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, allow me kindly to have an intervention. We have had very, very high quality debates on the supplementary appropriations, which is a carry forward from what we had last week. And what we have done today is actually highly commendable. But we need to progress this further, and therefore, pursuant to Standing Order number 95, I pray that we now call upon the mover to reply.
Honorable members, that is not there is no debate on that one. It is for me to establish from the House whether actually the mover should be called to reply. And I'll put the question that the mover now be called to reply. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Mover.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I really want to thank the members who have contributed. We have had, Honorable Speaker, the reservations, which of course some that we have actually noted and we had provided for in the report. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the concerns have been noted and we will make sure that they are followed up. Honorable Speaker, with that, Honorable Speaker, we note, and especially the concern on pending bills. Honorable Speaker, this country, as I said earlier on, is choking because of the pending bills. There are many people who have also lost their lives basically because they have committed suicide because they did business with government. So, Honorable Speaker, is a concern that we need to follow up. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply. Thank you.
Order, Honorable Elisha. Honorable members, I will put the question that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 9 of 2021 be now read a second time. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. What is out of order, member for Nakuru Town?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm not here to dispute what was raised by Honorable Murungaru, but Honorable Speaker, it is important for us to be heard in this House. Sometimes it's very unfair to come on the floor of this House. We want to make some comments pertaining to committee work that we have got. Honorable Speaker, when the supplementary budget was brought before this House, you ordered that every department must to go and look at that, interrogate your supplementary and make your recommendation. Honorable Speaker, from what I have learned is that quite a number of the committee recommendations were not taken. And Honorable Speaker,
order.
I just want to say...
Honorable member, order. Order, Honorable Gekalia. You see, we cannot open up that issue again. But obviously, the point that you have raised is very important. And you remember, I had actually suggested the chairs need to speak to this. But when a member rises on that point of order, the Speaker must establish whether that is the mood of the House. And that was done. But your point is valid and is on point. Next order. Honorable Gekalia, we can't go back there. That is closed. It's gone. But I'm sure there will be committee of the whole where you members can speak to it. Next order.
A bill for an act of parliament to authorize the issue of certain sums of money out of the consolidated fund and the application towards the service of the year ending on the 30th June 2021 and to appropriate those sums for certain public services and purposes. Order number 13, the Business Laws Amendment number 2 Bill, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2020, second reading.
Leader of the Majority Party.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Business Laws Amendment number 2 Bill of 2020 be read a second time. Honorable Speaker, as members will be aware, the Business Laws Amendment Bill was published in December, that is on 14th of December, 2020. It came for first reading on December 22nd, and was then committed to the various committees because it's an omnibus bill that covers a number of business laws. As was communicated by the Speaker this afternoon, the bill, as it was deemed to be concerning counties, and hence two statutes that were touching on counties have been withdrawn, and hence, even as I'm moving it without those two, as was agreed upon with the Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill is part of the wider reforms that are all aimed at easing the cost of doing business and the putting Kenya on a higher pedestal in terms of attractiveness to investors. The world out there of investors is not only looking for where businesses are profitable, but where it is easier to engage, to register a business, to continue engaging with government, the ease of how you get your, all your land registered, and basically all the hurdles that appear to be put in the way of doing business on the business community. And because as a country we are now doing very well in terms of ranking on the World Bank. World Bank has a ranking that they do every year on the ease of doing business within countries. And Kenya has made progress. And His Excellency the President did promise or undertake that probably by next year, Kenya should have moved within the top 50 countries in terms of reforms of doing business. Now, what happens with that is anyone wanting to invest, first of all, goes to the World Bank report and looks at this country, where is it rated? Where is it ranked? Now, if you have the top 50, you are likely to attract people faster than if you are number 100 and something. And I think what the government then decided to do is to look at what are all these laws that people are talking about, are complaining about. Remember, even the creation of the Huduma centers was to ease how citizens get documentation. Now, at corporate level, it then also looks at, based on what people have been saying, a number of these clauses, acts, have now been brought in. And if you look at the first one, the clause 2 is seeking to amend the law of contracts, which is cap 23. And this is again to eliminate the requirement of a company seal in execution of documents for companies. Because this provision was put in the Companies Act of 2015, but it's still within the law of contract at cap 23, is still a requirement. So on one hand, we are saying you don't need a company seal, but the law of contract says you need a company seal. So it's to harmonize the two laws by removing that. And again, when we look at businesses in the new regime, when you're doing online registration of document of companies, now, how do you then go putting seals online? And these are some of the small things that are, because of technology, it was deemed that perhaps a seal in the old days was necessary. But in the new regime, it's not a necessity for companies. The other clause, if you look at clause 3, we're talking of an amendment to the Industrial Training Act, And again, this is to provide for remittance of the training levy at the end of a business financial year, not that at the 9th day of the month following the year end. And this will be the similar amendment you will find in the NHIF Act to harmonize all these remittances to about the same day as the payment of other taxes, so that you don't end up with different dates when you're supposed to remit all these deductions to government. You go there for once and you pay your industrial training levy, you pay the pay as you earn, you submit the NHIF, and all those things in a single day, and hopefully even within a single area. Yes, Stamp Duty Act, again, Clause 4 is proposing to amend the Stamp Duty Act, again, to reduce the cost of doing business by exempting payments of fixed stamp duty on contracts of, payment of a fixed of Kenya shilling 100 on contract. And again, this is also reduces the tax obligation on business by reducing the number of tax returns they pay in each month, and which means the less of these returns that you send, you can use that time more productively to make money rather than paperwork. Like I said, one of the other things is the NHIF Act of 1998. Again, there's an amendment to create that common date for payment of all the taxes and deductions. And similarly, the National Security, Social Security Fund, NSSF, Act of 2013, is again being amended for the similar reason to harmonize. So between the NHIF Act, the NSSF Act, the Industrial Training Act, again to make the date coterminous with the pay-as-you-earn date, which is the 9th of every month. Mr. Speaker, when you look at clauses 14 to 17, again, these are amendments coming to the Companies Act of 2015, which is number 17 of 2015. And the first one is to eliminate the reference to the use of company seal, like we said, because it was deleted at the Business Laws Amendment Bill of Act of 2020. It's still resident in the Companies Act. I take that back. It's still in Companies Act. It's still in the law contract, and hence to harmonize, because we eliminated through the Business Law Amendment. Again, that's why we just basically bring it here. But a more fundamental amendment to the Companies Act is perhaps being brought out by this COVID pandemic, where physical meetings have been a challenge. And even companies started having their online meetings, virtual meetings, but the law has not been amended. It was through an advisory by the Solicitor General that has enabled companies to actually have these virtual or hybrid meetings with some few members attending, where others have not been attending, but others who attend by a virtual means. But we now have this opportunity to amend the Companies Act to basically then provide for either business to hold hybrid meetings or virtual meetings, so that at least they become legit. The decisions that are made therein, it's not just based on an advisory, but on the law. The clause 18 to 59, again, which is basically the bulk of the bill, proposes to make some changes to the Insolvency Act of 2015. And the first one is to allow a floating charge holder to apply to court if they are dissatisfied with the 20% apportionment of the net assets secured under the floating charge to unsecured creditors. And this proposal basically seeks to introduce some judicial redress to creditors by enabling them to seek judicial redress when they are dissatisfied with that apportionment secured under a floating charge. The second amendment is to introduce a pre-solvency moratorium in the Act, which seeks to then give company redress by allowing it to stay enforcement action proceedings against the company where it considers its options for rescue, whether by a new investment or formulating a restructuring plan. The other provision coming in is to replace the reference of the term provision of supervisor with the term monitor. Again, for better nomenclature and to avoid confusion of terms, because at times it's referred to as supervisor and all that, yet the job is actually the monitoring, not to supervise what is happening. The clause 60 of the bill also proposes to amend the Small Claims Court Act of 2016 to provide for the expeditious adjudication of small claims by providing a 60-day timeline for adjudication of these small claim matters. And if you look at the nature of the claims that appear before the Small Claims Court, there are matters that are directly impact on small and medium enterprises, and they affect those businesses which have a value of, below 1 million shillings. And yet we know that these SMEs have the capacity to generate employment, to generate wealth for our people, and hence any roadblock we put on them kills that overarching objective of generating employment and higher taxes and all that, and wealth for our people. So by now providing for a 60-day timeline, it will expedite the hearing of all these issues and gives businesses some predictability with which to operate. Honorable Speaker, this bill has been looked at by various committees. The JLAC was the overarching committee that coordinated. We have had the Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, the Committee on Finance, Committee of Health, Committee on Lands, although we have had to withdraw the land bit, and the Departmental Committee on Transport and Housing. And then all these have done their reports, which when you look at the report of the individual reports or recommendation coming from each of these committees, and the consolidated report coming from JLAC, you will find that they only had one issue unfortunately, it's on one of the bills, one of the articles, one of the acts, statutes that I withdrew. So on all the others, there's total agreement that committee does not propose to make any amendments. So again, it's one of those rare situations where a committee has met, they looked at it and said they are satisfied with the bill. They do not intend to make any amendments, which means we can expedite this so that by the time we are talking of the next review by World Bank in terms of what Kenya has been doing on the ease of doing business, our ranking could be better. Because with COVID, there's lots of money out there looking for decent places for people to invest. But like I said, people are not just looking at where to put their brick and mortar. They are not looking at promises by government. They are not looking at road shows by the investment authorities of those countries. They are actually looking at, when I get to the ground, how easy will it be for me to do my business, to register, to get a license, to get electricity connected, to get, how easy is it to pay taxes? Like this harmonization now you're talking of, on 9th of every month, you can actually pay all your taxes together, rather than having to keep sending somebody every day, go and pay NHIF today. This other one is falling due another day, go and pay. By just writing one single check, one person can go and do all that on the same day. So this money, we are not going to attract it unless we change our operating environment. And the legal environment specifically is where people are looking for predictability. And hence, I want to ask the support of the House that we expedite this process. We pass this. It's very simple. It may look bulky, but again, most of it is small items. And like I said, the committees have looked through it and had only identified one item for rejection. And fortunately, it's also within one of the bills that we have withdrawn because it affects counties. So with those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and I will request a very experienced member of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, the Honorable George Murugara, to second.
Honorable Murugara.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, allow me to second the Business Laws Amendment Bill number 2, National Assembly Bill number 50 of 2020, which touches on the various business laws we have in the country and which aid this country in carrying on business, especially by investors. We cannot talk of any meaningful development without having to constantly relook at our business laws and updating them, ensuring that they are in consonance with the various business needs of the country, so that when investors, whether local or foreign, come to do business in our country, they actually find that environment attractive. We do have several business laws that we are dealing with today, including the Law of Contract Act, the Companies Act, the Insolvency Act, the Small Claims Court Act, and even the Stamp Duty Act, and many others. It is very important to bring to the attention of the House that in this country, we have actually had a lag in terms of developing our business laws. For a long time, we were relying on the English Companies Act of 1948, and that was even up to when we were in law school. In as much as we draw inference from it, we are proud today to say we have our own Companies Act, which came into force in 2015, and it actually deals with the companies' matters, right from incorporation to dissolution of companies, in a manner that is Kenyan, and we don't have to borrow what happens in England. The commercial laws of this country, which commercial laws we have always emphasized on, mainly deal with corporates. Companies incorporated under the Companies Act, which do business, which have to invest, which have to pay taxes, and which have to make returns, including, where necessary, repatriations to their countries. Therefore, it is important that we ease the conduct of business of those companies so that at all times we have people who have money out there bringing it into Kenya amongst other companies to invest. Because this is for the benefit of the country, it is for the benefit of the citizens, it's also for modern day trade. Because today's world is actually modern. We are moving away from the traditional way of doing business, where we would always say a contract was a meeting of the minds between two people meeting and agreeing on what their contractual terms are. Today, we do business without even having to know who the other party is, because this is online, this is through the modern technology we have, and it is therefore important that we actually make that easy, that we are able to do business here in Kenya with the partners out there in Japan, in the US, wherever, without having to physically go in there. That's why we had requirements that a contract to be valid had to have a company seal. How do you affix a seal when you are doing your business online? That is not possible. The need for this amendment arises, and therefore it is a timely amendment that we are dealing with. There are various sections of the various business laws that are proposed to be amended, and in brief, I would actually refer the members of the House to the various committees, including the consolidated report from JLAC, which deals with which particular amendments are recommended. And this goes on to insolvency, because whether it's bankruptcy, whether it's insolvency, it's also important that we handle that quickly, because insolvencies and bankruptcies lead to losses of money. And we need to know how this is done, when we are liquidating companies, when we are declaring individuals bankrupt, etc., etc. And it's also important to note about the small claims court, because we have just established small court claims under the Act of 2016. The idea is that even small enterprises, even small people, individuals who are doing business, claims that go to court, we know for sure take a lot of time to be concluded, especially complicated, large commercial transactions, which require interpretation of the law, documentation that is bulky, etc. That takes a lot of time. In as much as we are saying, in our commercial courts, which we have set up in this country, we want cases, commercial cases, expeditiously disposed of. We have small claims by medium, small enterprises, human beings, which must also be moved faster. A small person doesn't have a lot of money, and we would hate to hear, you owe me 50,000 shillings, and your defense is simple. I agree, I owe you the money, but I'll keep you in the court for the next 5 years. Sincerely, we must move away from this, and this is why it is important that we buttress the small claims courts in our system and in our ways of doing business. It is therefore important that we actually have a timeline within which small claims have to be settled in court, and it is proposed that, in fact, judgment will be delivered the same day. And where it is not delivered the same day, the entire claim ought to be finalized in a maximum of 60 days. All these are to ease business. All these are to make Kenya an attractive destination for doing business, so that when we are ranked by the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, and any other person keen on knowing whether it is worth bringing your money into the country, Kenya ranks among the countries in Africa and in the world, where you can invest your money prudently, you get your returns well, and if you have any disputes, they are quickly handled through arbitration or through our judicial systems. Therefore, these laws are very timely, and I too urge the House to actually agree and we pass these amendments so that we make the doing of business in our country easy and attractive. With those remarks, I move to second.
Honorable members, I will propose a question, which is the Business Laws Amendment number 2, Bill National Assembly, Bill number 50 of 2020 be now read a second time. We shall start to my left, Honorable Okelo. Honorable Odoyo is not, has taken leave. So I will start with Honorable Ole Sankok David.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to inject my voice on this very important bill, that is a Business Law Amendment Bill number 2, Bill National Assembly number 50 of 2020. It's a very timely bill, Honorable Speaker, because, Honorable Speaker, our country have been rated as being not the best, but above there in terms of doing business and the ease of doing business. We have been able to attract business magnet because of this friendly environment, and we need to make it more friendly, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and I support this bill, Honorable Speaker. As a country, we need to put our priorities very right, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, because on the just concluded supplementary estimate, Honorable Speaker, around 250 million have been slashed from National Council for Persons with Disability, of which 50 million is to buy sunscreen lotion to protect our brothers with albinism from getting cancer, Honorable Speaker, from the effect of sun rays, Honorable Speaker, and even salaries, Honorable Speaker. So we should sometimes put our priorities very right, Honorable Speaker, and this bill have really prioritized our businesses, Honorable Speaker, in this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the business laws of our country are kind of outdated, Honorable Speaker. If you read these laws, when they were enacted, Honorable Speaker, some of them date back in the 1960s, 1970s, Honorable Speaker, and most of them trace their roots into our former colonizers, Honorable Speaker, that is the British, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, these laws are not customized to fit our environment, Honorable Speaker, because Kenyan problem require Kenyan solution, Honorable Speaker. Kenyan businesses, the way we do businesses, Honorable Speaker, is not the way UK may do their business, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, India have customized their way of doing business. They have put social attachment into their way of doing business, Honorable Speaker. And if you see business owned by Indians, Honorable Speaker, are communal, are family businesses, Honorable Speaker, and they have a way of doing it, Honorable Speaker. Our Muslim brothers, Honorable Speaker, have a custom in which you don't charge interest on even loans you have given to your family members, Honorable Speaker. They call it haram, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and they have been able to grow business and to do business, Honorable Speaker. So these laws should be customized into our economy and into our tradition, Honorable Speaker, so that we can be able to run our economy, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, any economy is run by businesses, not government employment, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, government employees are consumers of our taxes, while SMEs are generators of innovations, employment, generators of taxes, and are the wheels that run and move our economy, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, for those who don't know, a salary is a bribe to bribe you forget your ambition so that you can assist somebody else to achieve their ambition, Honorable Speaker. Most of the time, the government have been bribing our very intelligent people, Honorable Speaker. They forget their ambitions of innovation, of running businesses. They end up being in government, running businesses that never make money, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, because all our parastatals, most of them are making losses, Honorable Speaker. KQ, for example, Honorable Speaker, you have been injecting a lot of money. We have been forcing all our government officials to travel on KQ so that they can make profits, but they make losses, Honorable Speaker.
What is it, Honorable Duku, Kwenya?
Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to bring to your attention that the honorable member is using the term bribing in a context likely to distort the actual meaning of that word. Bribery, we know, of course, is payment to induce or to cause someone to behave otherwise, to look on the other side. Therefore, I call upon you, Mr. Speaker, to ask the honorable member to withdraw and to apologize to the House for misleading us.
Honorable Kwenya, are you trying to teach Honorable Sankok some bit of English? I thought Honorable Sankok knows a bit of English. And he seems to have justified the use of that term. But anyway, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Sankok, maybe you are well now educated.
Honorable Speaker, in my primary school, I was taught by somebody by the name Miss White, who is a relative to the Queen of England. So I have Queen English, direct from the source, Honorable Speaker. And there is something called similes. Very many times, Honorable Speaker, I've been called a lion. Does not mean I move on my four. It only means that I am brave. So if I say that a salary is synonymous with a bribe to make you forget your ambition, Honorable Speaker, and make others achieve their ambition, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean, and I know that is the truth, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, moving forward, before I was rudely interrupted, Honorable Speaker, this bill tends to solve the issue of our court cases, Honorable Speaker, in which businesses and business magnates have been scared out of our country because long-lasting court cases, Honorable Speaker. You come and invest, Honorable Speaker, in our country. You have bought land. You have done all the due diligence. You have gone to Lands Registration Office. You have been issued a title deed, Honorable Speaker. But all of a sudden, some people from whichever corner, government officials, have emerged and say that this one is a government land, this one is a forest, This one is a road reserve, Honorable Speaker. And while you are building, Honorable Speaker, like the Taj Mahal, Honorable Speaker. The Taj Mahal was not built inside a pocket, Honorable Speaker. It was built in broad daylight, Honorable Speaker. But all of a sudden, it is a road reserve. And we have regulatory bodies that deal with road reserves that make sure that as you start your building, Honorable Speaker, they will tell you this is in the wrong place, Honorable Speaker. But they don't tell you this is in the wrong place. They wait for you to invest billions of shillings. And then all of a sudden, you will see those Sanyo bulldozers, Honorable Speaker, claiming that this land is riparian land, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and Fort Jesus is actually on riparian land, Honorable Speaker. But you find some buildings in Nairobi, just next to a dam, being brought down, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you have seen what is happening in our court cases, in which they drag for very many years, Honorable Speaker, making sure that they drag for a long time while your business is suffering, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we need to make sure that we have prioritized. But as we prioritize, these laws must also bring into play the issue that we had just discussed earlier of pending bills, Honorable Speaker. There is what we call access to government procurement opportunities by persons with disabilities, by women and youth. That was a very well thought out idea by our president with very good intention to economically empower our hustlers, to economically empower people who are down, Honorable Speaker, for them to access government tenders, Honorable Speaker. But these ones have become a curse in disguise because you do business, and that is why there is a contract law here. You do business with the county government. You have borrowed from the banks. It will take 5 years for you to be paid. The interest that you are supposed to have gotten will be taken by the interest. The profit that you are supposed to get will be taken by the interest of the banks, Honorable Speaker, because it's a bank loan. Some of them even outlive or outweigh the interest, the profit, Honorable Speaker. The interest from the banks become more than the profit that you are supposed to get, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, these laws have come at the right time, and also, just like the mover of the bill and the seconder, urge the House to support this bill and the implementation part of it. I will want to persuade the majority leader that let us stand as a House and make sure that this one is implemented as soon as we have passed as a House. I urge my President to assent to this bill faster than any other bill, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I do support.
Honorable Nikal, member for Seme.
Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill. The issue of business, ease of doing business is extremely important. And sometimes when investors, even local ones, want to do business, you meet a lot of obstacles on the way. You need many permits and many licenses, some for the building, some for NEMA, some for single business permit. And if you are in a situation where you need to work with the professionals, you go through very many regulatory authorities to get this done. So it always becomes difficult and drag you a lot, and some people actually just lose interest. And even where there are not that many businesses, even the attitude in offices where you go to look for these licenses, many officers actually feel the citizens owe them without really realizing that it is because of the citizen that they are there. And it's taking instead of taking attitudes to help the citizens to get the businesses and move the country, they think they are doing them a favor. So I think any effort that comes to make business, starting business easier is actually welcome. Therefore, I support this. For example, if you're going to do things online, it's much easier, although sometimes we have problems with slow connectivity and networks and so on. And even if you look at the returns, you have to do returns to various authorities, UKRA, if you employ people to NSSF, to NHIF. So again, all these, although necessary, if they can be made easier, it will be extremely useful in promoting business and making it easy to do business. This bill actually, as the mover said, although it looks big, it's actually pretty simple, and have taken certain areas that need to be looked at and look them through the various businesses, the various laws. For example, if you look at the issue of the use of company seal, it's actually the same if you look at clause 2, even if you go and look at clause 8 and 12, it's still the same, that we are talking about the use of seals. If you look at clause 14 and 17, again it is the seal. So I think a good job has been done. You take one issue and look through and see where it is. If you look at the timing of payments, again, you find that you start with, say, NHIF, and it's saying the ninth day, and you will find that for NSSF as well, so that things have been harmonized. I actually like that on any issue that is picked, it is harmonized through all the laws. I think that is really the way to go. So you actually find the issue of the seal, it's been done throughout. Look at the issue of when you should make payments, it's actually done throughout. And then you look at, again, if you go to clause 18 to 59, the Insolvency Act, to introduce time so that when you are going to be insolvent, at least you are given time before the creditors run in on you, on the company, and bring it down. I think that is extremely important. And even when you have to make payments out, now there are small payments that you don't, and clear and small, that you don't have to go through the courts. I think that makes that extremely easy. And even if you look at claims, small claims, people actually just get tired of making the small claim and leave it. So you get a lot of unclaimed assets that are actually, we had to actually set an unclaimed asset authority. Because if there are small claims and the processes are long, Mr. Speaker, you would just as well forget it. So if you make it easy, you get your small claims. Look at the example of those of us who, if you travel, you buy something and then for the tax return, you just fill a form at the airport, you actually put it in a box. And you come back to this country, and within a month, you actually get your refund. I think it should make things as easy as that. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I do support this bill.
Very well. Honorable Koske Kimutai.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to also add my support to this very important bill on Business Amendment 2020. Honorable Speaker, Kenya enjoys stable microeconomic environment. The government operates sound microeconomic policies that promote growth, that provide secure environment for private sector investment decisions. Kenya also is a multi-party democracy with a unicameral parliament which creates laws. Honorable Speaker, it's very important that we pass this bill because the only thing that has been lacking all along for the business environment to enjoy the ease of operating business is these laws that have come to the floor of the House this afternoon. Honorable Speaker.
Order Kimtai, what is it, Honorable Sankok?
Whatever, Honorable Speaker, that go to the answer should be very true. My learned honorable member have said this country is a unicameral parliament, yet it is a bicameral parliament. We have the Senate and the National Assembly.
Did you say the teacher that taught you English is a relative of the Queen? I'm sure Kenya is appreciating that reality. Honorable Kimtai, I'm sure we are well advised now.
I can challenge him because I'm talking from a point of information when it comes to unicameral multi-party regime. This was done by the second founding father of this government, which is the late Mzee Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. So, Speaker, I don't want to indulge much on Honorable Songok because he has a lot of challenges, which part of them could be understanding this. We know him as part of the people who are here because of some challenges. So I don't want to indulge much on Songok. Speaker, the issue of NSSF and NHIF, all these mandatory statutory contributions, it's very important that we unify them and do the payment on the 9th of every month, which assists many accountants when they're doing the payroll, because this will be deducted automatic. Because some of these bodies like NSSF, they normally charge you a penalty, which is double the normal contribution. So it's very important that we actually match when we are preparing pay slips and the time that we are remitting the statutory. Honorable Speaker, I earlier wanted to make an appreciation on the supplementary budget, which was done by the budget committee. And I wanted to appreciate that for the first time in history, my constituency, Jebalungu constituency, which has C14 road in the entire Republic of Kenya, it is the only constituency that has C14 road, which has never been tarmac. The team ensured that they put money to Kyogong, Sigor, Chebunya road, which also starts from Sigor, going to Lelaitich, going to Kapsami, going to Nyagichiwa, Kibreres, all the way to Sigor, Longisa. This road, Honorable Speaker, is the only road in the Republic of Kenya which has never been tarmac. I want to appreciate the budget committee for ensuring that Chebalungu also benefit through this supplementary budget. I want to thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also support the bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Oh, you know, Honorable Murugara, you don't need to be surprised. What Honorable Kimutai did is to sneak in issues of his constituency on this one. Well, give it to him. Honorable Hassan Juma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I also stand to support the bill with the intention of improving the ease of doing business in the country. Mr. Speaker, the clauses that speak about adding the collection date for NHIF and NSSF remittances is welcome, because many a times employees suffer a lot when they're seeking services from hospitals and they're informed that they haven't paid the remittances for that month. And I also commend NHIF for being very particular in that regard, but at least moving it to the 9th, especially with the way in which salaries, especially in government, and especially in government nowadays with the economy that we're experiencing, it will help a lot to ensure that employed Kenyans get access to health care when they need to. I also support the National Construction Authority getting the powers to establish causes of defects in building. We know that unfortunately, due to the cost of corruption, one of the cost of corruption in our country is that, and many buildings have been found with many defects, sometimes leading to buildings crashing and destroying people's businesses, and also lives. But since we're speaking about businesses, they've brought a lot of losses to various businesses, especially small businesses. One thing that I am concerned about in the bill is regarding the land issues. Clause 10 speaks about the Land Registration Act being amended by inserting a section that says that the registrar for land shall dispense with the production of written consent of the lessor under section 54 and 55 in respect of a lease where the government is the lessor. I'm concerned about this because in Kwale County, we've seen sometimes that people who own land, their land is grabbed under the pretext that government wants to have some projects. And I'm concerned because even though there might be good intentions, but many a times in this country, we have rogue government officials that are out to make Kenyans poor. In addition, I just wanted to add that we can't progress in this country if the general status of the economy is not very good. Recently, since the death of the President Magufuli in Tanzania, we've heard many tributes about him. And a lot of the tributes have been about him raising Tanzania to a middle-income country. And I just wanted to commend this bill for trying to improve businesses, but I hope eventually that those in charge within the executive will ensure that the very small businesses also get to benefit, and it's not only the bigger businesses that will get assistance. A lot of the love that has been shown to the late President Magufuli of Tanzania have been from small businesses, even border borders, even small businesses from what we call in Kenya mama mbogas. They've had more freedom in doing businesses and therefore improving the incomes of their families. So with that, I want to say thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ridikiri Muruidania. That member also has taken leave. Honorable Goge Dwati.
Thank you very much.
Before Honorable Goge, I just want to remind members that, and that is in reference to, I had Honorable Hassan give reference to the National Construction Authority Act and the Land Registration Act. It is important for members to appreciate that those who are withdrawn, so they're not part of what we are dealing with. They were actually withdrawn by the majority leader, and the Speaker did communicate. Yes, Honorable Goge, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for clarifying that. In fact, I want to congratulate the majority leader for dropping what was proposed to be done by NCA. As a professional in that sector, some of those rules are not acceptable, and we have even challenged them in court. Thank you very much, Majority Leader. Honorable Speaker, I also want to support the business amendment laws, especially when it comes to ease of registering a business. Before, it was very difficult even to register just a mere company. But now doing it online, it is very easy. And I would encourage even our young people, because we have many jobs which we are doing in the constituency to register companies. But Honorable Speaker, I would like to plead with the AG, especially for our youth. The registration is still very expensive. Because to register just an ordinary company, a young person would require to pay maybe 200 shillings to do a name search. You can imagine, Honorable Speaker, if he's searching 2 names, that would be 400. On approval, he would require to pay about 600, which is becoming very expensive, especially when we are implementing CDF projects in the rural areas. Because CDF board has insisted for you to do a CDF job, you have to register a company. Then again, you have to register with the National Construction Authority, which is very expensive, about 8,500. For a youth just to do an ordinary toilet, which will cost about 200,000. Maybe you'd require about 10,000, which I feel, Honorable Speaker, is too expensive. And we need to do something about it. On ease of doing business, Honorable Speaker, although we are saying we have made it easy, Honorable Speaker, I would like Kenya Power to pull up its socks, because power connection is still a huge problem in this country. Very huge problem. Water connection also is still a problem. Obtaining a construction permit, Honorable Speaker, is also very difficult. It takes a very, very long time, especially where professionals are involved. Because, you know, just to construct just an ordinary house, you would be required to have a registered architect, and you know how expensive it can be, maybe a registered engineer. Then you take those drawings to the county government, pay payment for the architectural drawings to be approved, still pay some money to have those drawings approved by the structural department, still pay money, Honorable Speaker, sometimes to the road section, especially, then name again. Then even when you start building, again, hoarding, you still require a hoarding permit, signboard permit. These are things which we need to look at holistically. Because when an investor comes here, they can't understand. And to improve our ease of doing business, Honorable Speaker, these are some of the things we need to look at. Honorable Speaker, I really support this idea of doing away with the company seal. This is very old technology. I've never understood personally why we have ever needed a company seal. I've never understood, so I really support that. Again, Honorable Speaker, I'm very happy that the new regulations, the new bill has allowed us to be having online meetings, which is very good. Although some of us are technologically challenged, I think we are going to improve on it. Honorable Speaker, on small courts, I support, but I would propose 1 million is still very little money. Maybe we need to move that amount to about 5 million. Because 1 million, that is a very small business. On statutory payments, Honorable Speaker, I'm very happy. I was even thinking that would move it to 20th. So that as you pay your VAT, as you pay for landlords like me, as you pay your withholding tax, you pay it on the same day. Because sometimes you pay NHIF, you pay NSSF, industrial training levy, then you even forget the dates. So I would propose all those government taxes, we do it at one day. That is what I would propose. Because 9th and again 20th, those two critical days, and especially where you have accountants who forget, it is important we harmonize. Again, Honorable Speaker, I've talked about the youth, and I wanted to contribute during the supplementary appropriation bill 2021. Honorable Speaker, to support our local businesses and to support our youth. I need to plead with Treasury. This idea of allocating money for a project when you are 20%, through with the project, again that money is deducted. This is very unfair, Honorable Speaker. It is really killing local businesses, and we are going back to those old days where having an old truck, having a crane somewhere used to be very lucrative, Honorable Speaker. Because what contractors will do is just to bring those things and claim money. Interest on idle plant, machinery, which used to be very expensive again, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, again, although we are saying that when the government delays payment, you'll get interest on delayed payment. Again, for the big contractors, this is very risky because now we are seeing a new business in this country. Because interest on delayed payment is about 14%. You can imagine, Speaker, if you are a big investor, you invest maybe 500 million. First year government doesn't pay you your 500 million. You earn 70 million, the following year 70 million. That one is like owning a residential house, Honorable Speaker. This is something which Treasury needs to look at. And again, Honorable Speaker, one of the major problems we have in this country is where Treasury, instead of allowing the technical ministries to sign technical contracts, Treasury is signing those contracts and really messing this country. I would plead, and I want to plead with the Budget Committee, before we fund any project, we must ensure that the technical ministry is involved. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, I'm seeing this a lot because I'm a member of the Public Accounts Committee. The short time I've been there, I've seen many contracts where the technical ministers are not being involved. And again, Honorable Speaker, the other thing is holding of assets of our people. You know, when you are doing a small contract of 500 million, to get that performance bond, maybe you need some asset somewhere to secure it, Honorable Speaker. And when you are not paid, that asset is stuck there for a very long time. You cannot borrow. It is really frustrating this country. Honorable Speaker, with that, I want to say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to make my contribution. Thank you.
Member for Nyando.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you very much for this opportunity, and I rise to support this bill that is before us, the Business Laws Amendment number 21, advanced by the Majority Leader, my brother and friend, Honorable Amos Kimunya. This bill, Honorable Speaker, could not have come at a better time. Just a couple of weeks ago, we did put pen to paper on the Economic Partnership Agreement with the United Kingdom. And the gist of that agreement was to open up the European market, particularly the UK, to the Kenyan exporters. And at this time, all exporters within this country have a latitude to open up their business enterprises, both the existing and the prospective exporters, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, but even as we look at ways of easing business in this country, we just have to juxtapose it with other business enablers. Honorable Speaker, a survey was carried out, and it revealed that every month Kenyans waste 100 billion shillings or lose 100 billion shillings on traffic just in Nairobi itself. So even as we make it easier for businesses to be opened and to thrive, we must also take cognizance of the importance of infrastructure in this country. Assuming we were having, the highway, railways, the speed trains, the bullet trains, and all those, that would consequently reduce the time that we waste on our roads, Honorable Speaker. You can only imagine if we will inject a lot more 100 billion shillings into our economy, that will go a long way into creating jobs and addressing most of the challenges that we have as a nation. Honorable Speaker, in the ancient and even the contemporary African society, a handshake was just enough. This idea of pedantic inscription of things on paper were creation of the West. And they've put us into this situation so that we can trade as they do. But now, with the advent and the upsurge of corona, it curtails movements across nations. So you wonder how I would be traveling.
Honorable Makau, why are you agitated? What is out of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with a lot of respect for my honorable member, Mr. Speaker, this is a house where all Kenyans are watching. And indeed, very difficult times. You see, in order to create fear to Kenyans by saying, recently it was said, Kenyans are spending 100 billion per month on the roads. Mr. Speaker, can you substantiate the source of information so that we can reference and really tell Kenyans what he's saying is true? And if it's not true, Mr. Speaker, it's out of order because it's not in order to create fear to Kenyans. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What fear is it being created by him saying 100 billion is being lost on traffic? I'm sure he will inform you and where he got that from. He seems well led. member for Nyando. Honorable Makau would like to know where you got that from.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Be kind enough to...
I thank you. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and just to buttress your point, I am well read. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics did carry out that survey, and the report is in the public domain. If he needs a copy, I can supply it to him. Immediately I step out of this house. I have all those within my domain. Suffice to say, Honorable Speaker, and his intention was to distort my thought process. Regardless, Honorable Speaker, we have to enable our businesses to thrive by not just putting it easier for businesses to be opened, but also these punitive taxes around customs and around imports and so many other, very punitive charges levied on business people must be removed so that our businesses can thrive just as those in other nations. And Honorable Speaker, when we talk about making businesses to thrive, we do not just consider the high caliber businesses. We are looking at, the mamamboga, the border riders, who also are subjected to certain charges by the county government for absolutely offering no service in retrospect. And therefore...
Order, Honorable Member for Nyando, it is 6:30. The House must rise. Now, because this is not concluded, when this resumes, you will have your 3 minutes to finish what you are prosecuting. Honorable members, the time being 6:30 p.m., this House started adjourned until today, 23rd March 2021 at 7 p.m.